Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Got Betrayed and Become the Crimson Dragon God of Arcadia Part 8. Before we start, please go support RageRevan and Darkdecade97 for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. Chapter 25. Sons of Patriot. 2 weeks later, Issei's office, Arcadian military headquarters, 9:30 am. Issei was in his office, he was completing the last of his paperwork, he grunted in frustration. The paperwork just never ends. He wanted to fight in the war or train in his magic or create a new god key. Issei was already done with all 12 god keys, however he was thinking of combining all 12 god keys and use them all at once. However, he was getting nowhere in order to do so. It's so frustrating, Issei exclaimed as Drake mused. Partner, you will get an idea soon enough, have faith. I want to have a fight or at least do something, can't believe I have to deal with this much paperwork. Drake mused at his partner's situation as he responded. I guess that is the perks of being a general, only a select few can reach this level, and you reached by such a manner. Your abilities were clearly recognized by the Supreme General herself, Drake mused in happy approval. He clearly was in happiness that so much has changed in Issei's life. Despite them being in war, he was happy that Issei was the most happiest here. Even if he does not fall in love, he was on the verge of breaking from the shackles of his past. You got that one right, Issei mused, as suddenly someone knocked on the door. Issei spoke. Come in. The person who showed up was Jean Arc, as she asked with a smile. I hope you are free, General. I am, Supreme General, so tell me what brings you here. Jean took a seat and spoke with a neutral tone. I am here to send you on a next mission this time. Your mission will happen on a different planet, on a different Earth, designated as Earth 8. Jean spoke as she continued. Your fight will be against Outer Heaven. I will brief you on the mission soon, but before that, are you going to accept this mission? I will, Jean, I will. Jean nodded and gave a smile before removing a scroll pad as she explained the mission to Issei, who started to take notes. Jean then read the data she has about the Outer Heaven, but before she spoke, she responded, this is highly classified information, and this information must not leave this room. Issei. I understand, but who else knows of this? Jean shook her head and spoke, just you and me know of this, no one else. Okay, Jean spoke after taking a deep breath. As she spoke, the one you and your team will be clashing against is the Outer Heaven. Well, this Outer Heaven was the name of the mother company of the 5 largest private military companies in a continent in Arcadia, led by Liquid Ocelot. It was because of its status as a mother company that it was referred to informally as the Big Five. They were a seemingly unstoppable fighting force, on par with the entire Arcadian army. Logistically, technologically, and tactically advantaged, they were deployed all over the globe with the use of high-tech, high-end technology on the battlefield, and could come in and out of any conflict with minimal casualties. I see, Issei responded, as he continued, so who is in charge of this? Jean showed an image of an older man with white long hair that goes around his neck. He has a mustache and is known to wear sunglasses. This man here is known as Liquid Ocelot. The man you see, he is Liquid Ocelot. He is the one that created this new Outer Heaven, similar to its original by Big Boss, but different. He once went by the name of Revolver Ocelot, however Liquid soon took over the body, depicting him the person he is today. He often displayed an arrogant and extroverted attitude. He was also known to be bitter and resentful. Liquid Ocelot believed in a world where soldiers were free from the control of the government and institutions like the Patriots. Distinctively, however, he hoped to plunge the world into true anarchy and believed that by having people struggle and fight in a world of chaos, only then would they be able to know the fullness of life, and likened his projected dream of a lawless world to that of the Wild West. He is also known to have behaved immaturely in a childlike manner and is known to be resentful and aggressive. He was formerly known as Revolver Ocelot till Liquid Snake took over his mind, making him the way he is today. They both were treacherous as both were good in infiltration, and Revolver was nicknamed Triple Agent. Jean explained as Issei nodded and then asked, so what is the difference between Revolver and Liquid Ocelot? Jean explained to Issei, Revolver was much more mellow and merciful, while Liquid is not. However, they are more in common than you realize, and even similar to some extent. He also let Liquid Snake take over his mind, but he has already been dealt with, so I am not going into too much detail regarding him. Jean spoke as Issei responded, I see. So what am I supposed to do? Jean spoke with a serious tone, you and your team will assist Solid Snake in assassinating and neutralizing Liquid Ocelot and dismantle the Outer Heaven. You will be meeting him soon. Issei noted as Jean continued her explanations. Getting back to the Outer Heaven, with the rise of PMC usage in the early 2010s, the Patriots established a new form of global control by shaping a world economy sustained by endless low-intensity conflicts worldwide. By operating several of these PMCs under Outer Heaven, Liquid Ocelot essentially carried out these proxy battles on behalf of the Patriots against his own interests and longed to be free of their control. Having recreated and gained control of the former Patriot AI, GW, Liquid intended to destroy the core AI of the Patriots network, JD, resulting in system control, reverting to GW. Though it was assumed he wished to bring the system under his own command, he actually sought its complete destruction, which would plunge the world into anarchy and bring about his vision of outer heaven. Issei thought for a moment and spoke, "So you want me to assist the solid snake in completely dismantling the outer heaven?" "Yes, outer heaven is similar to the Setef, one of the Black Arm's strongest and most powerful allies. Defeating them will let us gain an upper level advantage against the Black Arms." Jean spoke as she continued, "We are not sure if any of the Black Arms leaders will be present, but if they are, defeat them by any means necessary. Capturing them is one thing, but you must take them down and neutralize them." "I understand, and I will communicate with my team as needed." Jean nodded with a smile as she continued, "I will send you all the details and remain in full contact with you throughout this mission. If you need my help, you can contact me." Jean sent the documents and details to Issei's scroll as he nodded. "Is there any questions you have?" Jean asked, to which Issei responded, "Yes, can I use my boosted gear to contact you?" "Wait, can you actually do that?" Jean asked with a tone of surprise as Issei spoke. "Yes, let me show you." Issei activated a magic circle as he explained, "This is a communication circle, something from my homeworld. The differences being is that this can also show real-time feed to you, almost akin to a video call, and if you want it could be a regular call as well." A small orb of magic is released from it as it soon goes into Jean's ear. As soon enough, a magic circle of the Welsh dragon appears in her left ear. This surprises her for a moment as she explains, "Additionally, this will only allow me and you to communicate without any problems, thus preventing anyone from hijacking any of the communications we usually would have. Not to mention, what we speak, only the two of us can hear and see what is happening whenever we communicate." Jean noted this and spoke. I see Jean's expression soon changes into a smile. "Well then, I will only use this for communication if you want." "Thank you. So when can we leave?" Jean shook her head and spoke, "There is no hurry. Prepare you and your team well and brief them about this, but most information must remain behind closed doors. It is for the safety of Arcadia. That is why this information will remain between us and in black ink." Issei nodded in understanding as Jean spoke, "I will take my leave. Just let me know when you will be preparing and leaving for the mission." "As you wish, Supreme General." Jean spoke as she headed out of the room, leaving Issei pondering on how he is going to deal with Liquid Ocelot. Scene change, Arcadian Star Destroyer. Issei was present amongst the rest of the 501st Legion, mostly his commanders and other subordinates in the 501st. He showed them all the necessary information that was given to them. He then used the scroll pad to activate the mission. "Okay everyone, this will be our mission." Issei spoke while showing the emblem of the outer heaven as Rias asked, "So we will be dealing with the outer heaven this time?" "Yes, Major, we will be fighting against them this time, so it will be more of an actual war. Right now, the Solid Snake and the Rat Patrol team will be in the Advent Palace. We will be heading there." Issei changed the hologram to the machinery known as Gecko. The Gecko, large mechanical turret-like head whose shape gave the impression of a face and snout. This was connected via a neck to a smaller body, at the back of which were two large, hip-like structures. Like the head, the neck, body and hips were mechanical, all were connected via mechanical joints. The joint connecting the head to the neck allowed the head to turn 360 degrees. Both atop the head and between the hips at the front of the body was a dome-shaped sensor capable of detecting visible and infrared light and equipped with night vision and other enhanced imaging abilities, such as the ability to scan through solid objects. The thing that Solid Snake has fought are these things, but we will be encountering much stronger variants and even some Metal Gears, so we will be fighting against them. The others nodded in understanding as Melano asked, "So our goal will be to deal with the outer heaven?" Issei nodded as he spoke, "Yes, Private, your goal will be to do just that, but we will be more of an assistance group. Our primary goal will be to deal with the Black Arms present and assist Solid Snake in dealing with Liquid Ocelot." "I see," Melano responded as Macaria asked, "Which person in the Black Arms will be dealing with?" Here Issei changes the screen to two familiar people. Many glared at the scene, especially Ingvild, who was clenching her fists in anger seeing the person, almost to the point of drawing blood. The people that were present were Nicholas and Vlad Ark. The reason that Ingvild was the angriest was because of the problems he had caused in the shadows. Her superior Lily Ironblooded had informed her about Elise Wong, who was able to infiltrate and cause problems for John's side of the mission. She was able to escape capture, but not before causing several problems to the original 15. Issei then spoke. "Earlier, our informants had informed us that Nicholas Ark and Vlad Ark were present to give more stronger weapons to the outer heaven, allowing them to continue their invasion of Earth 8. Our goal is to stop them as well, capture if possible, but eliminating them is going to be our top priority." Ingvild spoke with a cold tone. "Please General, let me be the one to deal with Nicholas. He will pay for betraying the Empress." Issei shook his head and spoke, no Ingvild, he is known to play with people's emotions like that, I have seen it firsthand, when he toyed with Juniper, depowering and almost killing her. But Ingvild wanted to retort, but Issei spoke, I am not letting my troops go into unnecessary danger, and nothing is going to change my mind. Ingvild reluctantly nodded as Issei spoke with a sigh, but once we deal with him, you will get a front row seat watching his demise, that is something I can assure you. Ingvild looked at him and nodded, as she responded, as you wish, General. Ingvild spoke with a relieved tone, as Issei continued, getting back on the briefing, we will be heading towards the Advent Palace, where we will assist Snake, we will split into 2 teams. Rias, take your shadow company, Ingvild and Kiba to assist in dealing with the outer heaven on one side, you will be in charge of the team, further briefing will be given once we reach down there. The ones mentioned nodded in agreement, as Rias spoke, copy that sir, I believe we will be landing soon, right? Issei looked at the pilot and responded, in a matter of 15 minutes, yes. Rias and her team nodded, as Issei continued, the rest of us, we will all be heading in a different team, this comprises of me, Nyx, Invictus, Elias, Melano and Macaria, the ones mentioned nodded in understanding, as they watched the planet of Earth 8 as they would soon land. The troopers present all got ready for their war against the Black Arms and Outer Heaven. Issei looked at the Star Destroyer entering Earth 8, he remembered his conversation with Juniper before he headed there. Scene change, flashback. Issei was seated in Juniper's room as she looked at the details of the mission that was given to Issei. The reason why Issei was here was because he decided to tell her about this and ask about Elizabeth's well-being. Juniper spoke, I see, so you will not be there for a few days, weeks even. Juniper asked, to which Issei nodded, yes. Alright then, so this mission Jean asked you to go, this is located in Earth 8 and this is where you will be fighting against the Outer Heaven and the Black Arms. Issei once again nodded and responded, yes, I and most of the 501st have already packed our stuff and have already started to head out for the Star Destroyer, we will be leaving soon enough. Speaking of which, how is Elizabeth doing? Juniper thought for a moment and responded, the Wesker squad has been helping a lot, however she does plan on joining the army soon enough to fight against the Black Arms and plan on dealing with Nicholas and Carmilla for their actions. I see, Issei spoke as Juniper spoke sadly. I am not going to lie, I ask myself this, when will this war end? Many lives have fallen, and many more will keep dying till this doesn't end. My people are dying on a daily basis, and all this happened was because I trusted the wrong man to be my partner. Juniper spoke with a sigh, she heard from Jean and the others on how many casualties have been present before and after the war. This was the first time a united force was fighting off against the Arcadia, since before that it was more or less skirmishes before, but now, it is a full-blown civil war. I am not going to lie, Nicholas's betrayal did catch me off guard, but we have to fight him, nothing can be done, and worse, his betrayal has affected all of the family, especially your children, he abandoned them without any care or love in this world. Issei spoke sadly as he continued, for someone that has known and experienced nothing but betrayal from a very young age, I can relate to them, I was not needed in my old world at all, but here, I have a home, people to protect and cherish, Issei spoke, as his tone changed to a serious one, I will do so as such. Juniper gave a smile as she spoke, I know. Well, I will take my leave, Issei spoke, as Juniper exclaimed, wait. Issei turned around, however before he could react Juniper pulled him into her chest, startling the boy. It was more or less an embrace, which caught Issei off guard. Juniper. Issei turned his gaze up to see Juniper's hair covering her face, he did not know why, but he felt comfortable, he felt warm. Juniper spoke with a hushed and loving tone. Come back safely, Issei nodded as he turned his gaze away, they soon split up as Issei spoke, until next time. Juniper nodded as Issei left the scene, still have a red tint on his face due to what had happened, he soon shook his head to focus on the mission. Flashback ends. Scene change. Issei pondered on why the Empress had hugged him like that, as his thoughts were soon snapped out by Ingvild, who asked, is something the matter, General? Nothing much, let's get a move on, just thinking about some things. Issei spoke as Ingvild nodded, the ship soon entered into the atmosphere as they all prepared their gear to start with the war against the Black Arms and Liquid Ocelot's Outer Heaven. Scene change. Advent Palace, Middle East, Earth 8, 10:30 am. Issei and company managed to reach the Advent Palace, where they were greeted by Solid Snake, who was described to be a man with grey hair, blue-grey eyes, and an eye patch around one of his eyes. He also wore a headband around his head and had worn traditional military clothing. Snake, Issei exclaimed as he was briefed about the situation by Jean on who this man is and what kind of a person he is. It is an honor to meet someone like you. So you're the one that the Supreme General sent, General Issei Hyoudou, right? Issei nodded and spoke, yes, the 501st is here to assist you in dealing with Liquid Ocelot and Outer Heaven. The worst part is that the Black Arms are being involved with this entire mess. Solid Snake became concerned as he asked, the Black Arms? Yes, sir, the Black Arms. Rias spoke as Solid Snake asked, who are you? Major Rias Gremory, Sir Solid Snake nodded as he asked, very well, go on ahead. Yes, so the Black Arms have been recently found out supplying arms and ammunitions to the Outer Heaven. We must stop them, else they will become an even bigger problem. Solid Snake thought for a moment as he spoke, I must presume, those are Metal Gears that he is sending. I believe so, sir. Rias responded as Issei nodded and added, indeed, and we need to stop them before they can invade Earth 8 and gain more resources to pose a problem for both the United States government and Arcadia. Very well, I will let you meet with the rest of the team and brief you about what you young ones need to do. Solid Snake responded as Issei and his team nodded. They all went inside to discuss on what needs to be done. Scene change. Vlad's private base, Earth 8, 12 p.m. Vlad was talking with Nicholas and Liquid Ocelot as Vlad spoke, so I believe that this world will soon fall into your hands, Nicholas. Indeed, it will, Vlad, indeed it will, and Ocelot. Nicholas speaks turning to Liquid Ocelot as he speaks, you will gain control over the America and gain control over the systems, fueling your goals. Ocelot. But how will we achieve this? Liquid Ocelot asked Nicholas as he spoke, well, Carmilla has been researching on the Metal Gear Rex and came up with her own model. I believe you would love this. Nicholas motioned Vlad as he responded, very well. Vlad snapped his fingers as suddenly the walls started to fall over revealing Metal Gear Ray, but this one was different, it was much more advanced and stronger than the original. Nicholas then described it. This Metal Gear variation of Ray can be piloted by you can use it against Solid Snake. Liquid Ocelot lighted a cigar and huffed it as he spoke. Seems like I can work with this, Vlad then added as he spoke, and even if the Arcadians fail, there is a Metal Gear that can deal some serious damage to them. Vlad once again snapped his fingers revealing a Metal Gear that made Liquid Ocelot wide-eyed as he spoke happily. America will descend into chaos. It'll be the Wild West all over again. No law, no order. Fire will spread across the world. The people will fight and through battle they will know the fullness of life. Liquid's words were agreed by both Vlad and Nicholas, they needed to gain more manpower if they have to win against the Arcadians and eventually beat them. The Metal Gear that they will be using will be the keys for victory. Chapter 26. The Liquid Sun. Advent House, Middle East, Earth 8, 1:30 p.m. Issei and the 501st Legion were discussing with Solid Snake and the Rat Patrol Team 01, which comprised of the following: Meryl Silverberg, Ed, Jonathan and Johnny Akiba Sasaki. Earlier there was a talk that had happened between Solid Snake and the rest of the Rat Patrol Team 01, including Akira's bowel problems. I see, so you are our assistants against this new threat. Meryl spoke, to which Issei nodded, yes, and I am familiar with the situation, including about the events that have happened a few hours ago in the Middle East. Very well then, although you seem quite young for a general. Meryl mused, to which Issei spoke, it's a long story, so what is your mission here anyway? Mostly to eliminate the threat the PMCs pose to the United States Army criminal investigation. Issei nodded in acceptance as Meryl continues, Ocelot's goal is to plot an insurrection. But as long as the security system is in place, there is no way he'll succeed. How can you be so sure? Invictus asked. Meryl was surprised by most of the Arcadians, only seeing a select few of their races in person, but she responded regardless, they've implemented a system that monitors in real time every single soldier engaged in action. Whether he is state army or PMC. Meryl paces around as she soon takes a seat, each individual has been ID tagged with nanomachines injected into their bodies for that purpose. The nanomachines keep track of the soldiers and their real-time personal data, 24 hours a day. They monitor each man's position, movement, speed, reserve ammo, firing accuracy, wounds, rations, water intake and supply, sweat secreted, heart rate, blood pressure and sugar levels, oxygen. All the data gathered on body condition, on sensory organ data, showing pain and fear. Data on every internal response within the body. All of it is collected by an AI at the system's core. This data is monitored at HQ to enable command to make more precise, more rational decisions. It also enables crises management for each individual soldier. It's being used by the US military, by state armies in allied countries, by PMCs. Even police agencies are starting to adopt it. Unless they agree to implement the system, PMCs aren't permitted to send troops anywhere. I presume you've got the system's nanomachines in you too, right? Nix asked, to which Meryl responds, of course, our unit plays by the rules, just like everybody else. It was creepy at first, knowing you're being watched 24/7. But you get used to it, it gives you a lot of advantages in the field too. We get a clearer picture of what's going on around us, so there's less confusion during missions. And our nanomachines communicates with each other, making our team work a whole lot smoother. And that's not all the system does for us. It is a system guarantee against the PMCs. Security guarantee? Macaria asked, yes, the PMCs are combat groups without any states or ideologies. They are not fighting out of nationalism or the cause. They don't care why the war is being fought. They're just bodies, fighting on someone else's behalf. They're mercenaries, commodities. So it's easy to imagine them betraying their clients and joining the enemy or refusing to fight or committing humanitarian atrocities. To keep these things in check, they ensure that no one can use firearms or military vehicles without the proper system ID. It's true for every piece of equipment out there. So even if the PMCs tried to mount a terrorist attack or coup d'etat, their weapons and equipment would automatically be locked out. They wouldn't be able to move, attack or engage in combat of any kind. And there's more, all the data on the position, personnel and combat strength is leaked to us by the nanomachines. Even if they manage to circumvent the system by getting the nanomachines out of each soldier's body, they'd be losing their IDs, so they couldn't use the machines. Lucaria, it is similar to my creations, the god keys. I have attached a special nanomachine that only I can use, no one else can if the other person does get access to my weapons. The weapon will not only lock that person out, but will also send the location of the thief back to me, into my devices. Lucaria nodded in agreement. Almost everyone knew about the god keys, since Issei's creation, the Judgment of Shamash, was broadcasted even on other Earths at this point. They knew that it would be dangerous if anyone else got their hands on Issei's god keys. They call the AI, Sons of Patriot. It is a foolproof system. Meryl responded, as Issei asked. And are the Patriots behind this? Meryl looked at Issei and responded, lolly lulalo. What are you talking about, General? Nothing, never mind. Some wondered what he was talking about, as Meryl then responded, anyways, Liquid would have to register as a PMC in the system, along with Nicholas Ark, to assemble an army that massive. Their armies might even exceed the US military in terms of numbers, and with the Black Arms, I believe in millions. But as long as they're registered, their soldiers are constantly being monitored, so long as Arcadia and US responds immediately, we can take them down by force. So that was how Arcadia was able to get tabs on the army. Interesting. Melano thought with intrigue. Issei looked at Ingvild's expression and motioned to Rias as he spoke softly, Rias, a word. Rias nodded, wondering what her general wanted to speak about. They both went at a distance as he gave a glance to Elias, who began explaining the plan to the rest of the team. Issei had informed him, Nyx and Invictus prior, as Issei spoke to Rias, have you taken a look at Ingvild? Yes, she seems too vengeful on the whole mission. She really wants Nicholas's head, but it is not surprising, many of us do hate him, right? Issei nodded as he spoke, that may be true, but I have seen how Nicholas operates. He preys on people like Ingvild. He did the same to Juniper, and had it not been for my usage of my armors, she would have been killed. I take it you know what this means, right? Rias became wide-eyed and nodded in understanding as he spoke, I understand, and since she is vengeful due to her being a shadow, Nicholas will toy with her and eventually manage to kill her, but I am not going to let that happen since I am in charge of the team. Right. Indeed, and I am counting on you. Her and your PMC's life is in your hands. Rias nodded in understanding as she accepted this, however their thoughts were snapped when Ed called out. Commander Ed spoke while looking at a monitoring device, as Meryl responded, what is it? There are troops, 40 of them, and they are not from the PMC. Praying Mantis Ed walked towards them and spoke, they are frogs and Black Arm soldiers. They're private troops. The people present were worried, as they all started to scurry around. They knew that they had been tracked down, and they had to fight. Issei and the rest of the team were in stealth mode, as the frogs started to maneuver around the building trying to ambush them. They rolled on the rooftop that they were on. Meryl then spoke, these guys are with Liquid's private army, shoot first, think later. We will use the stairs and get out through the back door on the first floor. We'll change the route as necessary. I'm on point, stay close. Got it. How did the rat patrol team minus Akiba respond, as Meryl speaks? Akira breathed deep. Akira takes a deep breath and speaks worriedly in response, got it. We've got two real-life legendary heroes with us. Try not to choke. Meryl spoke while looking at Solid Snake and Issei, as Snake snickered in response. Meryl looks at the scene outside for a moment before commanding. Move the group, all head inside, as they soon split up with Rias and her team, along with many 500 first troopers taking one side, while Issei and his team, along with Snake and Rat Patrol team taking another. They take their positions, bringing out their ranged weapons. They start to be ready at the troops heading their way. They soon see themselves on a roof, on the 4th floor as Haven troopers or frogs start firing their guns on them in response. They manage to kill 2 of them by constantly firing at them. They soon take them down. Heading downstairs. Elias responded as Issei nodded. They all soon followed suit with them constantly firing on the Black Arms, making short work of them. They all kept firing as the Haven troopers kept jumping around like a bunch of frogs, making it harder to deal with them. The team keeps firing as they soon encounter 3 more Black Arm soldiers, as they command. Fire on the general, he is their strongest. Issei fires multiple shots, as he is joined by Nyx, who fires many more of the bullets using her P90, taking down several of them. Issei looks around to see Meryl guiding her squad around as she saw 2 more black arms firing at them. Akiba Meryl shouted as Ed responded, "You are covering us." Right, sorry. Akiba moved to the side, along with him continuing to pressure the attack. They keep on firing their weapons onto the black armed soldiers, thus killing a total of 7 out of the 40 soldiers, which was 1 added frog and 2 black arms, which resulted in the total frog killed was 3, and black arms being 4. "Keep moving," Issei commanded as they kept pushing forward. They all kept firing the shots towards the black armed soldiers and frogs who were leaping around, making it even more difficult. Rias and her team were dealing with their own set of frogs and black armed soldiers. Rias then commanded, "Quick, use long-range sniper rifles, Ika, fire at the frogs that are leaping around." Ika responded with a frustrated tone, "I wish, but they just keep hopping around like it's nobody's business. Worse, this planet has low mana, as a result magic is low this system. But there are some that are low, so we have to bring in crystals we brought, but setting them up in generators or capsules that allow us to use our magic will take a day or 2 even then, that would only let them use 50% of our original magic at max." Rias grumbled in agreement. That was a major problem that they had. They only had 1 shot of magic before they lose their mana. They would save it when they deal with a stronger threat or when it is an emergency. The good thing was that now they did not need it. Ingvild took a precise aim, being a half-elf allowed her to see a bit in slow motion. She managed to fire 2 shots at the leaping frog, causing it to stagger, as Ika was able to take a shot and aim a precise shot aimed at the head, killing it. But 1, Ingvild responded in kind, "Thanks Major." Rias kept firing on some of the blaster shots onto the troops. They soon started to fall, as Kaneko and the 501st troopers also assisted her in taking down more of the troopers. All in all, they killed 3 more black arms and 2 more frogs. In total 12 soldiers have been killed. "We are not done, there are still 2 more on the left." Kaneko spoke as she spotted 2 more soldiers, as Kiba fired his heavy rocket launcher at the frogs, as an explosion took place, killing 2 of the frogs without any mercy. Being a dragon, he had higher physical strength as opposed to the others. This allowed him to carry heavy weapons without a problem. However, he did not need a minigun or a M240 machine gun, since there is a chance they would miss. "Not bad." Kiba nodded in approval to Kaneko's words, as Ingvild soon followed it with precisely aiming another shot, and this time it was at the frog's arm, causing him to try and avoid the shot, but he sadly got hit. Seeing this opportunity, Ika aimed 2 shots at the head, which successfully killed it. This caused the frog's count to increase by 5, causing the total to become 15 soldiers, as 3 black-armed soldiers started to fire at them. "Take cover," Rias commanded, as they all took cover behind tables or walls to protect themselves from the fire. Rias looked at the scene with seriousness. She had to be careful or else this would keep causing a problem. Back with Issei, he and his team along with the Rat Patrol Team 01 and Solid Snake were engaging their set of black arms and frogs, as they are also in cover. The black arms and frogs were firing from 2 entrances, making it harder for them to keep firing. "So what now?" Melino exclaimed to Issei as she was taking cover. Earlier she had been struck with bullets in her arm, as Macaria removed the bullet using some magic and covered her arm with a white cloth. Her wound will heal in a few minutes due to accelerated healing she has, since she was a goddess. Even Macaria and Nyx have a faster healing as opposed to regular humans. "Snake, I have a plan." Solid Snake looked at the young general for a moment as he asked, "What do you propose?" "I want some of you to give cover fire. I will dash on ahead and deal with the soldiers hiding in the walls." Many were surprised by the risky tactic as Macaria protested, "No general, there is no way you are going to do that." Macaria is right, it is too risky, what is you get shot. Melino responded with worry as Issei spoke, "I will be fine, you two, just want some of you to give cover, I will take care of the soldiers." Solid Snake looked worriedly as he responded, "Fine, I will assist, but try not to get caught. You are still young and have a life ahead of you, don't waste it." Issei gave a smile and spoke, "Don't worry Snake, I know what I am doing. I will also assist in this general." Elias spoke seriously, with Nyx nodding in agreement as Issei nodded. He looked at the girls as he spoke with an assured tone, "I will be fine, I promise." "Fine, but if you get shot, I will deal with you personally." Macaria spoke with a serious tone, making the general gulp. As he nodded, he looked at Melino who still seemed worried. They saw Issei as their little brother and couldn't imagine him getting hurt. "I won't, I assure you," Issei spoke, as Ed and Jonathan agreed to this, as Akiba seemed worried. The team started to cover fire at the locations, allowing Issei to dash around the field. He immediately brought out Excalibur as he in a mere second reached the location on the other side. The black-armed soldiers, which were 2 in number, along with a frog soldier, were surprised by this, but before they could react, Issei sliced thrice, decapitating their heads without much effort. Issei soon headed to the next location. He quickly killed them as well, without much effort. The soldiers he had killed was even more, as they increased from 6 soldiers, which were 3 frogs and 3 black arms. The total count increased to 11 frogs and 10 black arms. The count total was 21 soldiers. That's done. Issei spoke with a hushed tone as he looked at the troops and gave a nod as Jonathan commented, that was quite fast. Issei nodded as he asked, so where now? Issei asked, to which Akiba speaks, we head downstairs, our goal is to head to the basement. Understood, let's go. The others nodded as they continued to head down while dealing with the soldiers that would get in their way. Issei sent a message to Rias on her scroll stating where his location is. With Rias, they managed to kill the black arm soldiers, increasing the count to 13 black arms, only 7 remained now. Rias then got a message making her tell the others. The general has informed us, we will be heading towards the location where Vlad is. The others nodded as they encountered 2 more frogs, they kept leaping around as Kaneko spoke with an annoyed tone. I have had enough of these frogs. Kaneko brought out a small grenade and looked towards Issei and Ingvild as they nodded. They soon aimed their weapons as Kaneko removed the pin and threw it. No sooner did she threw it, the 2 fired their guns at the frog's leg, making them stagger. The shot was precise enough to distract them. When they saw the grenade they shouted. It's a frag, but it was sadly too late. The grenade exploded as it engulfed the 2 frogs, killing them instantly as Rias spoke with a sigh. You know that, those grenades will be important later on. Kaneko nodded as she spoke. I know, but I was just sick of them leaping around, they weren't even getting hit at all. Kaneko mused with an annoying tone, she was happy that they were gone for good. Rias and Issei only gave a sigh at Kaneko's nature, they knew she always loved explosion and heavy weapons. Kiba then spoke, deciding to get everyone's attention. Where now, President? Rias looked at him and spoke, we have just recently found out Vlad's location, we will be heading there soon enough. Our goal will be to move from towards the lower floors, there we take a nearby military van that would take us all the way to a station point so we can prepare an ambush. There is a chance that Nicholas Kane would also be there, we can either capture or Ingvild ends Ria's words. Or we can kill them, either is fine. I would love to kill him, though. Ingvild spoke coldly, earning a sigh from Rias, she had to make sure that Ingvild does not rush to deal with him in any way. Very well, Ingvild, but remember what the general said to you in the Arcadian destroyer, keep that in mind while we deal with all of them. Ingvild looked at Rias and nodded, she was her superior at the time, she responded, I understand, I won't let my anger get the better of me. Same goes for the rest of you as well, capturing or eliminating him, along with dealing with Vlad is something we need to succeed in. Rias' team nodded as they all started to move out in dealing with the Vlad and his troops. But Issei, they had cleared up the last of the black arms and frogs, with Jonathan firing several bullets onto the last frog killing him, as all of the frogs and black arm soldiers were killed. Snake and some others were surprised by this, as Meryl explains, the nanomatching network inside each other's body lets us share each other's senses, they can see what I see. Jonathan was fixing his expression as Meryl speaks, it also helps us control pain. Is that part of the system too? Snake asks. Meryl responds, with SOP my team can operate as one. Meryl soon turns around to see Akira struggling with his bowel problems as she speaks with a slight annoyance, well, except for a certain someone who's not much of a team player. So what do you think? Meryl speaks while walking close to Snake, is your age of heroes finally over? Snake grunts as he walks forward and speaks, I am no hero. Never was, never will be. You haven't changed at all, Snake. Meryl responds as she speaks, but your body. Are you going to be alright? This getup doubles as a muscle suit. I can still get around. Meryl seemed to understand as she turns around and speaks, Liquid's camp is up ahead, I'll mark it on both of your map, thanks. Issei spoke as Meryl nods, she then motions her team to come forward and coordinates with them. She turns to see Akiba missing and still struggling as she commanded, Akiba. Akiba rushes towards Meryl as she speaks, one man's blunder can compromise the whole team. I'm sorry, Commander. Meryl only taps his shoulder and Akiba sighs as he walks forward. Meryl then speaks, be careful, you all. Meryl's words are nodded in agreement by several as Meryl brings her team together, including Akiba, who all take their positions. Once again Akiba struggles, but Meryl makes sure he is fine. Now what? Melano asks Snake, but before he could answer, he suddenly gets a call. This call was from Hal Emmerich, also known as Ottokin. Issei and the others noticed his expression as they had already met Ottokin before meeting the Rat Patrol Team 01. Snake seemed to be talking to Ottokin as he walked towards a distance, meanwhile Issei got his own call from Jean, surprising him. Drake then spoke, partner, the Supreme General wants to speak to you. Patch her through. The screen showed Jean in her usual military attire as she asked, I believe you have reached, right General? Yep, I have, and we have split into 2 teams, one team is heading towards Vlad's location in the Middle East, while my team and Solid Snake are currently heading towards Ocelot's location. Jean nodded in response as she spoke. I see. Elias then asked, Supreme General, is there any reason you called? Yes, Captain Greystone, I wanted to hear a report on the mission, what is even going on there? Elias soon responded, both teams had encountered 20 frogs and 20 black armed soldiers, however we managed to take them both down, along with the Rat Patrol Team 01, which comprised of Meryl Silverberg, Ed, Jonathan and Johnny Akiba Sasaki. Jean remembered Meryl, she was surprised to see her present, but she didn't mind, as Issei continued, Major should be sending us her status soon enough. Very well, let me know what is going on, if possible. I would like to have real-time updates about the situation, primarily the major ones. Understood. Issei responded, yes, I will send them. Good, that is what I expect. I believe you should be able to send it to me, using your sacred gear. I have the circle still in my ear, and I should be able to witness the situation up in hand. Issei nodded in agreement as he spoke, yes Supreme General, it will be done. Jean gave a smile and spoke, I wish the best of luck to you, General Hyoudou, you and your team, come back alive, got it. Issei and his team nodded in agreement as he cuts the call. He soon looks toward Snake and asks, so spoke to Otacon. Yes, I wanted to speak to you about Akiba. Issei looked at him and asked, what of it? You noticed his expression to be fearful, didn't you? Even without bowel motions, he often seemed scared. Issei, Melano, Nyx and Macaria noticed this, with even Invictus noting this to be true, as Melano speaks. Yes, I believe so. I have a feeling that he is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Melano's words were agreed by Snake as he spoke, it seems like both you and Otacon are on the same page. But how would this make sense? They seemed so much in sync, won't this disrupt the team dynamics? Elias asks, confused, to which Nick speaks. I believe the reason would be that his PTSD is so high, and coupled with his problems, the nanomachines may not be able to handle this. Nick speaks as Invictus spoke, you are right on that one Nix, I believe it is too much, but regardless, they seem to handle the situation just fine, even when Akiba was unable to perform properly. I agree, I fear what would happen if the machines were hacked. Nick spoke with worry as Snake added, yes, not to mention, there is someone that was able to do it. Wait, who? Invictus asked with concern, as Snake spoke, his name is Drebin, but only a few of them exist. No less than 1,000. They are more or less gun launderers. The people present nodded, still worried, as Snake spoke. We should probably get a move on in dealing with Ocelot while he is still here. The others looked at him as they all stealthy headed out of the basement, dealing with any enemy soldiers they come across. Scene change. Rias and her team have already reached the military van and are on the move towards Vlad's base, as she gave a sigh and spoke, alright everyone, our goal is simple, but we need to be careful. She soon removed a hologram pad that showed them, as she showed a small military base that the Black Arms have made, as they look at it with seriousness. There are soldiers posted everywhere, thanks to the surveillance drones that were able to capture real-time footage, we were able to get a proper map of the base, as well as troops. Rias spoke as she continued. About 20 soldiers are present at the entrances, guarding it from all directions. There are aircraft and vehicles seeking missiles that will destroy them in a 500-meter radius, so we will have to walk on foot once we reach the military base, since if we use the vehicle, we will be destroyed. Any questions here? None of the ones present had any, as Rias continued. Very well, there are 100 troops present in the first and second floor in total, guarding every nook and corner of the location, and finally in the third floor, the man Vlad is present. Unfortunately Nicholas was able to leave the planet before we can even reach, so we can't deal with him right now. Rias spoke as her team nodded in agreement, she could see Ingvild clenching her fists in anger, making her understand the situation. She will look after Ingvild, that is what she promised her general. She soon saw herself reaching the Arcadian base camp, as she spoke. We are here, get ready everyone. The rest of the team and troops nodded in agreement, as the van would soon stop and they would get outside. Scene change. Middle East, 2:30 p.m. Solid Snake, along with Issei and his team, were stealthily maneuvering across the battlefield, taking down any soldiers that he came across. Solid Snake and the others looked at the war that was going on between the armies of both sides. Issei and Snake took their positions, as they both looked at each other and gave a nod. They quickly fired their shots onto the black armed soldiers that were present, killing them instantly. They started to move around the field, dealing with any soldiers that stand in their way. Invictus take the top side, and Issei brings out a sniper rifle and speaks, give us cover while we move around. Understood. Invictus headed to a building and started to move to the rooftop of the building. Once he was in position, they kept moving forward, slaughtering any PMC-based soldiers that they encountered along with the Black Arms. Invictus kept providing cover fire, with the others also assisting them in their actions. Issei looked at Melano and spoke, fire at them. Melano nodded as she and Macaria assisted them in the firing, taking down several more of the PMC soldiers that were guarding the posts. They kept moving until the tanks decided to join the fight. They looked around to see the rebel troops advancing ahead, as one of them shouted, move. However, the tank belonging to the rebel was suddenly stopped, much to everyone's surprise. Nyx wanted to check it out, but was stopped by Snake as he spoke, something's off. The rebel tried to control the tank, but was unable to do so. He looked at the one stopping it, as suddenly crying sounds were heard. The soldiers rushed to see who it is. It was none other than the crying wolf. The crying wolf seemed to be crying as she pushed back the tank which was desperately trying to move ahead. The soldiers kept pushing ahead firing at her, but sadly, it failed to do anything. The others behind knew who it was, as one of them shouted, "It's the beasts." They started to run away from the field, but suddenly they were cut down by an unknown force, as a raven's screech was heard. This was Raging Raven. "Rage, show me your rage," Raging Raven shouted as she flew into the air. Meanwhile, the crying wolf pushed the tank back with her strength. She then howled. "Woo-oh," the crying wolf grunted and shook her head as the rebel soldiers backed away in fear, as one of them kept walking behind. Unfortunately, he walked too behind, stumbling upon a figure that rose up from his behind. This was the laughing octopus, and she was laughing the whole time. Another soldier spotted her and shouted as the soldier tried to run away from the laughing octopus, but it was too late, as she used her tentacles to grab her and exclaimed with joy, "Laugh with me." The soldier is crushed with its tentacles, causing some of the soldiers to fall down with fear. The rebel soldier got up and started to run for his life. However, suddenly he turned around, losing control of his body. He soon turned around and started to fire the gun at his own men. He soon was floated into the air and his neck was snapped. He soon dropped down dead. "It can't be." Snake spoke with disbelief and fear as the soldier was on the ground dead. Issei looked at him and asked, "You know who is responsible?" "Someone that should have been long dead, General." Issei became concerned as Solid Snake knew who could be responsible for the soldier turning on his enemies and attacking them. They soon turned around to see the leader of the Beauty and the Beast unit, the Screaming Mantis. "Is that?" Snake looked at the being with surprise as he spoke, "Psycho Mantis. The one who should have stayed dead." Macaria asked, as Snake responded, "Yes, but whoever is here must be someone else. Maybe he could be someone related to him." Nick spoke, however Screaming Mantis was not Psycho Mantis, yet they shared several similarities. The truth couldn't be far from it. Their attention was grabbed when Laughing Octopus attacked the two soldiers with the tentacles as she stabbed one of them with her tentacles, laughing all while doing it. The rebel soldiers were running away from the scene as a raven's call was heard from the skies. She fired 2 missiles at the bridge, killing the 2 soldiers as she shouted, "Show me your rage." The crying wolf was not that far behind as she dashed into the soldiers on all 4, crying this whole time, tackling 2 of them. She soon leaped onto the building, tackling 2 others and toppling the tank to the ground, causing an explosion, crying and sniffling the whole time. Screaming Mantis watched from the above as she motioned her hands in a manner indicating it was time to leave. The Raging Raven reignited its jets and started to fly into the air as the crying wolf started to cry and sniffle as she howled, "Oh woo." The Raging Raven was in the air as she shouted, "Rage, rage," while the Laughing Octopus started to laugh and walk away, with the crying wolf retreating as well. The Laughing Octopus exclaimed with joy, "Isn't it funny?" Back at the upside, Screaming Mantis performed what seemed to be a bowing motion. She also soon left the scene, leaving the others stunned at what happened. Invicta soon joined the group as he asked, "What was that?" "I have no clue, but all we know is that they are a major problem," Issei mused as he looked at Solid Snake, who seemed to agree with this. Just as suddenly a small metal gear came close to them and spoke, "You are right on that one." The gear that came close was Metal Gear MK3. The gear created by Hal and his adoptive daughter Sunny. "General, Snake, I have already sent the information to the United States and the Arcadian headquarters. General, the Supreme General should be contacting you soon enough." Otacon spoke with concern. Those 4 seemed too off to act like this. One was crying, the other was laughing, while the third seemed rage-fueled. Soon enough, Jean's call came on the boosted gear as Issei spoke, "Drag, patch it through." Jean's face showed up as she spoke, "I saw the recording Otacon sent me, and truth be told, those 4, they are victims, I believe." "How can you be so sure?" Issei asked, to which Jean responded, "I have seen this situation time after time, all of them are victims of war, especially that wolf and raven. Not to mention, all 4 of them seem to be highly protected by their suits." "Yeah, we could see that. How do we plan on dealing with them?" Solid Snake asked Otacon and Jean, as Otacon spoke after a short moment, "Their leader, that floating mantis-like being, I believe she is the one controlling them, but it seems like she was able to get a hand on those soldiers. We can't deal with her like a regular soldier." "You are right on that one, Otacon." "General, Snake, you 2 must make sure to head to where Liquid Ocelot is, follow the PMC troops that are heading inside, and eliminate them. If any of the 4 corps are around, be careful, and don't hesitate to use your magic on them, if need be." Jean's words were agreed by everyone as the calls get cut off. The MK3 follows Solid Snake as they all head towards the next location. That is Liquid's camp up ahead. Scene change. Vlad's camp, 3 p.m. Rias and her team had already engaged the black armed soldiers, killing every last one of them. As they were in position, Rias and Kaneko were aimed at one side of the door, while the others at the different side of the door. Ready ... on my signal, Rias exclaimed as the teams nodded. Rias soon kicked the door as she exclaimed. Vlad, I would advise you to surrender. The 501st surrounded the entire room, as Vlad only laughed as he took a sip from his red wine and spoke. It seems like the infamous 501st is here to capture me, so what do you plan on doing? How do you plan on defeating me? After all, you know I am not going down without a fight. Rias responded coldly, I know, but there is nothing you can do, Vlad. Vlad soon got up as he sipped the last of the wine and kept the glass down as he spoke, so by all means, please try to stop me. Vlad speaks with a grin, as suddenly there were several spikes that he activated under the ground. Rias acted quickly and generated a magic barrier to protect herself and her troops, since those spikes can easily kill them. The barriers were starting to break as Vlad spoke, but that is not all you have to deal with here. Vlad snapped his fingers as suddenly something jumped into the viewing, as these were the geckos that Solid Snake had to deal with, which broke the ceiling of the camp. They made cattle sounds as they started to fire their attacks onto the soldiers who had caught off guard. They managed to deal with the spikes as they turn their attention to the geckos as they fight back. It was quite nice talking to you. Vlad's tone changes to a shrug as he speaks, even if it was short-lived. A chopper soon arrives and Vlad enters into it as he escapes, while the 501st Rias team deals with the geckos, who were equally annoying. Rias and Ingvild gritted their teeth in anger and frustration as Vlad managed to once again escape from their hands. Until next time, 501st. Vlad looked with a smile, however that soon changed to a frown because they were expecting the 1-5 or the metal team to deal with them. But the 501st were here and they were starting to become even more problematic than the 1-5, or as they were known currently, the original 15. Scene change. Liquid's camp, Middle East, Earth 8, 3:35 p.m. Issei and company managed to infiltrate the base camp that Liquid Ocelot was on as they had taken their positions. They had to locate Liquid Ocelot and eliminate him. Issei checked for a message on his scroll for Rias to respond, but he couldn't find any. Worried about your team? Issei nodded as he spoke. Yeah, the last message they sent was that they have reached the camp after the nothing. Have faith, General, they will be fine. Issei looked at him and nodded as they kept moving forward. Issei looked at his team and they were stealthily moved across. Solid Snake activated a button on his device near his eye and zoomed in on the person responsible as he recognized him immediately. Liquid Snake grunted as Issei nodded. The two men started to walk ahead. They noticed the Rat Patrol Team 01 as Meryl was surprised. She knew that Snake was the assassin that was sent to kill Liquid Ocelot. Meryl contacted Snake as they had a talk. Issei looked at Solid and waited for a moment as he asked. So what did she want? Solid looked at Issei and responded. She was informing us that she is only here for investigation. She can't help us in any way. Understood, let's move. Issei looked at his team as they kept moving ahead. This included the Rat Patrol Team 01. Back at Liquid Ocelot, he was pacing around the building as he pulled out a radio and spoke in it while crouching. Activate it. Liquid looked at the scene as another person comes in the view. She had a garbed appearance that covered her head. She watched, having a bad feeling of what is happening. A huge sound was heard, seemed almost akin to a siren. Suddenly, the troops started to fall on the ground, foaming in their mouth. They were starting to have immense pain in their heads, alerting everyone present. The only ones that were unaffected were Akiba and the 501st Legion, along with Solid Snake. What is going on? Nyx exclaimed with horror, seeing the soldiers incapacitated on the ground. Crying, anger, laughing and screaming. Invictus responded, I believe that Liquid Ocelot has done something to them. We need to locate the Rat Patrol team. They are also in danger. Let's go then. Melano spoke seriously as Macaria and the others agreed to it. Meanwhile, Solid Snake was approaching towards Liquid as he and Issei dealt with any PMC soldier that was getting in their way. Soon enough, Solid Snake also grunted and fell to the ground as Issei exclaimed with worry, Snake, I am fine. Solid Snake grunted as he kept pushing forward, dealing with any of the soldiers that were getting in their way. Issei defended Snake from any PMCs that got in their way. Liquid Ocelot was watching this with a grin, enjoying what he was witnessing. The woman with him gasped in horror. She did not want this, she never wanted this. The Rat Patrol Team 01, they were all on the ground, as Akiba exclaims, Commander. He watches helplessly as Meryl seemed to be crying and foaming, like several others. Akiba desperately tried to help them in any way, but was unable to do so, as Issei's team were on the side of the location, as Elias asked, don't tell me they. I honestly don't know, they suddenly acted like this and they all were foaming, please help them. Elias and the others nodded as they helped Ed, Meryl and Jonathan out of there. Invictus then asked, then how are you not affected? I know nothing, all I know is that my team needs help. Akiba spoke with concern as they all nodded. They all helped the rest out of there and brought them in a safe area. Back with Liquid Ocelot, he looked at the scene and spoke, I never thought it'd be so easy, but these results. Refreshing, don't you think? The woman only grunts to what Liquid had spoken, she soon walks away. Solid Snake and Issei walk ahead dealing with any soldiers that are in their way. Snake struggles to even keep a hold due to what had happened. He soon aims his pistol at Liquid and breathes heavily, kneeling on the ground. Liquid stops moving as he looks forward. He soon removes his glasses and turns around. He soon smiles and points to Snake, who was clearly grunting, as he exclaims, brother, it's been too long. Solid Snake grunts as he speaks. Liquid, rejoice. Liquid soon clenches his fists as he continues, we are not copies of our father, after all. We are freed from the shackles of fate, Liquid exclaims as Snake kept struggling. Issei helped him up. Liquid then continued, Snake, brother, we are free. Snake pushed Issei a bit back as he stood up with his bare strength, with Liquid constantly taunting, watch as I surpass my own origin. Snake's vision was starting to blur, as Liquid only looked at Solid Snake with apathy. Liquid didn't even bother to look at Issei, as someone came into their view. She removed her hood, and as Snake spoke, recognizing her. Naomi injected herself with a syringe, as she gave the syringe to Issei and spoke, give this to him, it is an animachine suppressor. Issei looked at him and asked, but why help us? I will explain later, when we meet again, General. Naomi soon turns to Snake, crouches and speaks, Snake, if you won't be a prisoner to fate. Then go, fulfill your destiny. Naomi got up and left the scene, as Issei pondered on whether he should do it or not, since she was with the enemy, as he and Snake watched Liquid Ocelot escape, with Naomi already in the helicopter. Liquid soon left in the helicopter as the geckos followed suit. Issei injected him with an animachine suppressor as he was starting to pass out and cough from the exhaustion. Akiba and Issei's team soon came in, as he asked, Snake, is he okay? Issei nodded as he spoke, he is breathing, we need to get out of here and bring the ones in the situation to safety. Akiba and the others nodded. This mission did not go as planned, as Issei got a call from Rias and spoke, yes Major. Rias spoke from the device, we were able to reach Vlad's base, but he was able to escape in a chopper. He used geckos and spikes to distract us. I see, so this mission was a failure. Rias shook her head and spoke, not exactly, we were able to find some information on the soldiers, I will send it to you right away. Are any of you harmed or killed? Rias nodded as she spoke, harmed yes, killed no, the troops are receiving medical treatment, how are things at your end? Liquid managed to escape, Snake and the Rat Patrol Team 01 are down, excluding Akiba, none are killed fortunately, but it was a total loss. Rias nodded as she spoke, what now, General? We are heading back to the temporary base in the Middle East, we must recover and be prepared for what comes next, Issei spoke as Rias nodded in response. He soon cuts the call as Rias sent him the information. Issei sent it to both Jean and Ottokin, as they all headed back to recover from the loss. Scene change. Time skip brought to you by Chibi. Issei practicing war in simulations created by Chibi Jean. 3 days later, Vista Mansion, South America, 9:30 p.m. Issei and Solid Snake managed to successfully reach South America. After being properly briefed by Campbell, they knew what they had to do here. Earlier they were briefed on the mission and where the Rat Patrol Team 01 was heading. They were tracking Liquid Ocelot, who had escaped, and a message from Naomi, or her full name Dr. Naomi Hunter. She looked at Issei and was examining his condition. All this time, he remembered the Highlands battle where their encounter took place with the Laughing Octopus happened again while fighting against the South American rebels. He soon met up with Drebin, who had sold them, or more accurately Snake, where he explained to them about the unit they encountered, the Beauty and the Beast, including their names, Raging Raven, Laughing Octopus, Crying Wolf and finally their leader Screaming Mantis. He also theorized that Screaming Mantis could be related to Psycho Mantis, with Drebin adding it to be the Snakehound unit, and they have got them in their sights. He also revealed on how the AIs in the nanomachines make anyone that speak the Patriot's name replace with Lolly Lulalo, which was recognized by Issei and Snake, since that was what Meryl had spoken to Issei about the Patriots. This made them understand that no one can speak properly about the Patriots. This information was relayed to the rest of the 501st, Jean and Ottokin, who were surprised by this, as they noted this information to be very important in combating the Beauty and the Beast unit. Back at the present, the 501st was dealing with the Black Arms present here. They were dealing with the soldiers, while Issei and Snake were present in the laboratory, with their mission being to rescue Dr. Naomi herself. She soon examined Snake and revealed some stuff about Solid Snake. She identified the cause of Snake's accelerated aging, revealing that it was incurable. It was simply the way he was designed as a clone. Naomi also discovered that the Foxdie virus, which she had injected into Snake almost a decade ago, had since mutated. Since there were no more targets for it to attack, it had been circulating within his body since. The receptors on the virus had eventually broken down, and it would only be a matter of months before Foxdie became a threat to other people. Naomi estimated that Snake had only half a year left to live as well, and he only had 3 months before the foxdie began to target other people indiscriminately. Issei became worried upon this, meaning him and his 501st and family are potentially will be in danger, as Naomi described him to be a walking biological weapon. She also gave them a newer version of the nanomachine suppressor, which would help them in their fight. She suggested them to use it sparingly, as Solid Snake kept it with him. But Naomi started to fall into sadness on what had happened and she can't escape. Snake pulled her to her senses and responded that he will free them both. Issei remained speechless, they clearly had a history together and he wondered what was going to happen. Where's Liquid? Snake asked seriously as Naomi responded, I can't tell you too, yet. Not until you free me. Naomi soon went to the other side, as Issei was sensing something off, he thought he just heard laughter. He snapped out of his thoughts when Naomi spoke, Liquid left here last night. Where was he headed? Snake asked, to which Naomi crossed her arms and spoke, those are my terms. I can't leave this place on my own free will. What are you talking about? Snake asked, as Issei spoke, she is right. I managed to put 2 and 2 together and I figured this out. We are being watched. Naomi looked at Issei and nodded in agreement as Snake looked around to see some spies, with him continuing, and I have a feeling it is Laughing Octopus that is watching us. The two headed to a different chamber with Issei following suit. Liquid has altered his plan, removing this system will only cause his army to collapse from within. So he's chosen to seize control instead. Liquid's objective is to hijack the SOP system. He'll use it to create the ultimate army of perfect soldiers and launch his insurrections against the Patriots. There's a name for this new plan, he calls it Guns of the Patriots. Naomi explained as Solid Snake spoke, Guns of the Patriots. Naomi suddenly started to scream in pain as suddenly a flashbang was thrown. Issei failed to react in time, causing them both to be stunned. They saw 2 soldiers belonging to the Black Arms as one of them speak, it's no longer safe here. The other started to fire onto the 2 as they took cover immediately. Issei soon followed by bringing out Excalibur and stabbing the soldier in the head, killing him. He looked to see Naomi and the soldier long gone as 2 more soldiers fire at him, which forced him to take cover. Issei headed inside, only to see himself and Snake being surrounded by frogs, as soon laughter sound was heard, making them realize it was Laughing Octopus that was attacking them. Octocamo? Snake spoke with a surprised tone, as Laughing Octopus, who was hanging from the ceiling using her tentacles, spoke, Snake General. My praise, isn't it funny? Ha. Laughing Octopus started to laugh maniacally as she turned to them and spoke, come. Laugh, well you can, there's no escape from here. Laugh yourself to death. Laughing Octopus started to laugh even more as the frogs surrounded them. The 2 knew that they had to defeat her if they have to remain alive and rescue Naomi. Chapter 27. Laughing Rage. Vista Mansion, South America, Earth 8, 10:30 p.m. Issei and Snake were looking at their opponents as they were comprised of several frogs, Black Arm soldiers and their leader Laughing Octopus. He looked at Snake and spoke, so any ideas? Before Snake could respond, Laughing Octopus cackled in response, The octopus released what seemed to be a black ink-like substance which clocked her completely as the soldiers started to fire upon them. They both headed to a safe area as they started to move around. There they saw the Black Arm soldier speak, General. Issei turned around to see 2 soldiers aiming their weapons at them, but before they could react, Issei quickly dashed and decapitated the 2 of them with his Excalibur, murdering them with ease. Their heads fell to the ground as Snake rushed towards him and spoke, that sword, it really is powerful, isn't it? Snake commented as Issei spoke, yep, earned that thing to get it, it is Excalibur, the blade of promised victory. The same sword that the King Arthur used. Issei nodded as he kept his sword beside him. 2 frogs were leaping around as Issei brought out his M4 and started to fire at them as they soon fell down dead. Issei continued to push on ahead, with Snake joining in. The duo was killing any and all soldiers that were getting in their way as Issei takes down 2 more by firing at them. Snake takes down some more as well as some of the bullets hit Snake. Issei shouted in concern. Issei rushed to him as Snake responded, I am fine, kid. Snake took out a syringe, which Issei indicated it to be a painkiller as he injected himself with it. While he was recovering, some more frogs jumped around and aimed their weapons at them. Issei dashed around, killing one of them as the other shouted. Enemy. Before the soldier could react, Issei stabbed the other in the head, killing him instantly as well. He looked toward Snake, who had recovered to the point of standing up. Issei then asked, are you alright? I am fine, seen and experienced my fair share of war, Snake responded as he continued, I can handle myself, but you are quite young to have experienced war like this. To be such an efficient killer, what have you been through? I would rather not speak about it, at least not now. Issei spoke as they were surrounded by multiple soldiers. They both started to fire upon them with their weapons as they soon fell down dead. Snake and Issei moved around to see Laughing Octopus in a curling position. She soon started to laugh while calling out the names, Snake General. Issei brought out the Excalibur as he got ready, laughing octopus then spoke while cackling, people dying, people suffering, it's so funny, laugh with me. Issei twirled his Excalibur as he looked at Snake, they had to take her down at all costs. The two immediately get out of the room, dodging the tentacle attack that she sends towards them. Issei and Snake head behind the doors as Snake starts to fire his P90 onto her, causing her to scream in pain. She soon dissolves into a black cloud of thick inky black smoke. When the miasma falls, she soon disappears on sight. Stay on guard, Issei nodded as he readied his sword ready to deal with any and all of those that would get in their way. Understood. The two kept maneuvering around the house as they tried to locate her. Dust you try and find me. Laughing octopus cackled while children's and other people's laughter was being heard, all in all it was madness. He soon found her in the air as Snake and Issei continued to fire their weapons at her as she screams and grunts in pain due to the barrage of bullets. They both had used their goggles to locate where she is and acted quickly. What? The laughing octopus exclaims in shock. She soon uses her tentacles to attack them as Snake rolls and Issei jumps to avoid getting struck. She soon sends them towards Issei as she starts laughing before once again heading to stealth with the same technique and vanishing out of existence. They deactivated their goggles as Issei spoke. This is getting really annoying. Issei spoke in annoyance, almost irritated that the opponent is only toying with them. Snake spoke in response. Stay alert, she wants to provoke you. Issei took a deep breath to calm himself down as he reloaded his gun and headed outside. He had to get back to the rest of the 500 first. The laughing octopus's cackles were heard throughout the Vista mansion. Additionally, even voices of the others were being heard as well. This is seriously bucked up, reminds me of that episode in Batman. Issei muttered as he soon located the laughing octopus who rolled herself into a ball to attack the two. She could do this by curling up with the tentacles forming a ball around her and roll at an enemy like a bowling ball. This attack, given the speed at which she rolled and the unyielding material that the tentacles were composed of, was akin to being struck by a car. Serious injury or death was the result. The two barely dodged as they kept firing onto the laughing octopus. As she started to take even more damage, she continued to scream in pain as she once again disappears into an inky mist, leaving a trace of her back. They once again started to locate her by sensing where she is. Eventually, she was located right behind them. Acting quickly, they fired as many bullets as they could, making her once again disappear. She was turning invisible, making it harder for her to be detected. She basically mimicked the texture and surrounding of the area, making it akin to camouflage, as she was heard cackling even while she was in pain. Once again, they heard of her laughing, as this allowed them to detect where exactly she was, as they kept firing onto her. Once the laughter became louder, the two did not hesitate once they shot the first few bullets revealing her location. Snake laughing octopus cackled as the two started to fire several bullets, causing her to once again go in stealth. She once again entered into her ball form as she rolled towards them. Once she calmed down, she started to fire at them, which caused the two to hide into cover. However, much to their surprise, something was being heard. Snake. Why? The two became startled as Otacon spoke, Naomi, but why? However, Issei and Snake knew this was a trap as they started to fire in front, revealing it to be Octopus. They kept firing onto her, as Otacon responded. Watch out, you two, it's a mimic. They soon hid when they were out of ammunition. They reloaded it, but they were ambushed by laughing Octopus who swooped from down. Issei tackled Snake to safety, quickly rolling off. The two started to fire at her. Issei and Snake did not hesitate and kept firing at her as she screamed in pain. Eventually, she was defeated, curling into a ball. She stood up in an upright position and got up as if she was akin to an octopus. Her tentacles started to fall on the ground. Her tentacles were starting to move, but were unable to do so. I am an octopus. Laughing octopus spoke while cackling as she continued, these tentacles are beyond my control. Their will is the will of the battlefield. Her face mask falls off, revealing a short white-haired Caucasian female. This was the beauty form of the laughing octopus, nicknamed Laughing Beauty. Laughing Beauty soon started to puke out black ink from her mouth, causing the two men to back away. Their weapons were still on. She soon fell to the ground, her hands dropping. Funny, so funny. Laughing Beauty soon put her hands on her face while covering her face. It's all so funny. Soon her expression changes to that of despair and sadness. She soon started to walk towards the two. No, it's not so funny. Nothing is funny. I shouldn't be laughing. I can't. The truth is, I am not laughing. Not laughing at all. She rushed towards the two as they both move away. She soon falls to the ground whole, taking the support of a nearby wall. She soon holds her head in despair and speaks. I shouldn't be laughing. I'm scared. I'm really scared. She soon falls to the ground due to the trauma as she apologizes. I'm sorry. She crawls towards them as they back away. She soon starts to get up while speaking. I won't laugh anymore. I can't. Laughing Beauty continues to laugh as they try to back away. Issei did not know what to do, but Snake stopped him while shaking his head. The best thing they could do was put her out of her misery. Issei reluctantly agreed with this. She started to laugh as she spoke in despair, it was almost like she couldn't control her laughter. I don't want to. She started to move forward as they two got to their distance. Otacon then spoke, Snake General, she shed her suit, be careful, we don't know what she is going to do. Issei did not want to kill her, not after what she has been through. He has a feeling that it was traumatic which caused her to become insane. However, Snake spoke while keeping his hand on him. We need to take her out, kid, I know you don't want this, but that is how it is. Issei looked at him as Jean added from the boosted gear, Snake is right, looking at her, I think the best outcome is to kill her. At the very least we can put her out of her misery. The Supreme General was watching what was going on, she saw how badly the Laughing Octopus, or the Laughing Beauty, had suffered. She knew the only way to save her is by putting her out of her misery. Very well, Issei spoke as the two men started to fire their weapons, she started to dodge the bullets, but eventually she stopped doing so, once there was enough bullets taken, she shouted in pain. Aya the Laughing Beauty soon slumped down and curled up in a fetal position, Snake went over to check her pulse, and spoke, she is gone, resting in peace. Issei sat down sighing in relief, as Snake suddenly got a call and took it, Issei soon got a voice from the other side, Issei, how are you doing? Better, just what did she go through to become like this? Jean then responded, I have seen this situation multiple times, Ice. This is post-traumatic stress disorder, but I have a gut feeling that it is much, much worse. She was mentally and physically tortured to have these laughing fits and puke out ink of all things. Either way, I think if Deben is correct about her, then everything what I spoke must be right, as much as I don't have proper faith in a gun launderer. Jean spoke her own thoughts, Issei then spoke, so what now, Jean? Jean spoke with a thought, locate your team and try to find Dr. Naomi and rescue her, face off against the Black Arms in South America and clear them. Very well. Issei cuts off the call as Snake ends his call moments later as he speaks. I spoke to Deben and he has got some interesting talks about her. Snake spoke as he continued. A young woman who became Laughing Octopus was born in a small seaside Scandinavian town known as the Devil's Village. The primary meat consumed in this village was the octopus, also known as devil fish, caught nearby. An anonymous crazed cult nursed a deep hatred for the village. When Laughing Octopus was a teenager, the cult accumulated enough heavy weaponry to launch a deadly overnight assault against the town. The conflict concluded when the cult rounded up the survivors and executed them one by one. However, instead of executing the girl whom they referred to as the Devil's Child, they forced her to participate in the torture of her family and friends. They also forced her to act as if she enjoyed it all by making her laugh. Fearing for her own life, she obeyed her captors and massacred her entire family. The incident left her mind broken beyond repair and prone to fits of manic laughter, especially during combat. Snake explained to Issei as he became horrified as Jean spoke, so she is right, then. Who is right? The Supreme General. Issei nodded in agreement as he spoke, she has asked us to head out and fight against the forces outside. Well then, let's go. Scene change. South America forests, Earth 8, 12 AM. The 501st Legion was facing against scores of Black Arms, Puver Armament and Geckos, who were all attacking them at once. We need reinforcements, Rias shouted as they were starting to get overwhelmed. The 501st were starting to struggle against the whole hordes of the soldiers heading their way. They wondered where Issei and Snake were as Rias shouted, we are getting our SS handed to us. Come on Major, keep pushing, we need to hold out on them till reinforcements arrive, we have already sent a command to send them into the fight. Rias spoke mentioning two new members of the 501st Legion that have decided to join the fight as Nix asked, you sure about this? They still have just recently joined the Legion. Rias nodded as she spoke, we don't have much of a choice to begin with, the general is nowhere to be seen, meaning they are still facing off against the Laughing Octopus along with Snake. It is up to us to save Dr. Naomi. Rias pointed out towards them as Macaria spoke, Rias is right, we are outnumbered and outmatched, we can only hope they make it out as fast as possible. They kept firing onto their enemies, overwhelming and killing any of the soldiers of the Black Arms and the PMC that they had come across. However, just as they were going to deal with the situation, Issei and Snake joined in as Macaria spoke, took you long enough. Macaria mused as Melano added, yep, we were getting our asses kicked. Sorry ladies, I was dealing with Laughing Octopus. Rias then responded, please tell me she is dead. She is. Rias sighed in relief as Issei decided to bring out a grenade and start throwing at the soldiers. He made sure they were boosted multiple times, which caused massive explosions, destroying many of the Geckos without any mercy. Snake also joined in, firing his M249 onto them without any mercy. The machine gun was wiping out a lot of the soldiers without any mercy. Issei looked around to see many more of the PMC joining in as he asked, does anyone have a rocket launcher? Issei asked as Kaneko spoke, I have. Give that to me. Issei aimed at the helicopters that were dropping in more reinforcements, as Issei fired the rockets aimed at the soldiers, destroying their helicopters, killing the soldiers without any mercy. He kept firing at them and showed no mercy to anyone that stood in their way. He looked coldly at the terrorists that want to harm him in any way. I am starting to like our general. Kaneko mused with happiness, seeing how explosive and aggressive can he be. Aika then mused, you like anyone that uses explosives? Perhaps. Kaneko spoke with her tongue out, as Aika only sighed as Issei took down many more soldiers. Invictus, fire on the officers, try to disarray their chain of command. Issei spoke on his scroll as Invictus responded, leave it to me. Invictus started to fire some rounds onto the officers, causing them to scramble and struggle. He looked toward Snake, and he nodded. He started to fire even more bullets using his M249, killing many more soldiers as well. The geckos made several mooing and chirping sounds as they started to fire the shells. Issei immediately shouted, everyone take cover. The entire 501st did not hesitate and did so, they were all under cover while the geckos were dealing with them. Some of the soldiers were still out of cover as Issei acted quickly and generated a defense magic barrier which protected them without hesitation as they spoke with a tone of gratitude. Thank you General. The 501st Lieutenant thanked Issei as he escaped the location as Rias soon joined him and spoke, I have called for reinforcements, including the 2 newbies that will be joining us in a few minutes. Very well, let's deal with these things. Issei spoke as he leaped into the air with Excalibur in his hands and sliced them in half. He soon dashed towards the second one and destroyed them with ease. Rias also joined in, firing her blaster pistols on the head of the geckos. The geckos used their cable to try and grab her by the leg and carry her flying, but Rias used her destructive magic to destroy the cable with ease. She soon leaped on top of the gecko and spoke. Take this. Rias fired onto the gecko, as it soon collapsed onto the ground. Issei soon decapitated the last gecko as it fell to the ground. He soon caught up with Rias who was destroying another gecko, as she spoke. I take it you are done as well. Rias nodded as she spoke, yep. The two looked to see themselves being surrounded by several black-armed soldiers, however before anything could happen, several bats ambushed the soldiers as they were sucking on their blood, draining them completely. Right on time, Rookie Issei mused as he knew who exactly was the one responsible. The soldiers kept firing on the bats knowing it was the doing of a vampire, but a sort of a cold voice spoke. It's no use. The bats were glowing in the darkness as Issei waited for the soldiers to die off. The bats eventually formed into an effeminate-looking male with platinum blonde hair and pinkish-violet eyes. His hair is styled in short bob cut with several small fringes over his forehead, and he has pointed ears. Many describe him as looking like a beautiful girl. This was Gaspar Vladi, one of 2nd Lieutenant of the Arcadian army and one of the newest members of the 501st Legion. Seems like you have made quite the entrance. Issei mused as Gaspar gave a smile, as he asked with slight shaky tone, how did I do? For your first battle in the 501st. You did quite well. Issei responded as Gaspar gave a smile. Soon enough they witnessed another also join. She spoke with a very cold and shrill tone. The woman seemed to be a death maiden, as she wore her armor into the battle. No one can stop death. The woman leaped into the air, growing 2 wings that almost looked like fallen wings. This was due to her affiliation with Malthal, the Archangel of Death. She started to reap away the souls of all the soldiers, without any mercy, siphoning them away with relative ease. They tried to escape, but were unable to do so. The woman had no empathy seeing this from happening. Once this was done, the soldiers kept firing upon her, but there was no effect. She dashed towards them and was siphoning the souls as well, having no mercy for terrorists like them. She reaped their souls completely, killing them with ease. The woman noticed Issei speak as she responded, leave it to me, General. The woman flew into the air as she faced off against Vamp, who was described to be immortal in any way. You cannot take me down, whatever you are I am immortal. The woman turned around and spoke, Death Maiden, and nothing can stop death. But my target is not you anyways. The woman was about to siphon his soul, but her first priority was to rescue the doctor as she turned towards her and spoke, come with me. The black-armed soldiers aimed their weapons upon her, who only responded by siphoning their souls away, as Naomi looked in horror, while Vamp felt concern and fear, knowing the 501st is filled with monsters, almost similar to the infamous original 15 he has been hearing. Let's go. Naomi did not want to argue with her, as she looked at the helicopter, it was way above, as Issei contacted her. Jump, Drebin has already brought his tank to safety, the doctor will be fine. The woman responded, very well, General. The Death Maiden grabbed Naomi and jumped down, as a tank with Naomi being dropped down. The Death Maiden then asked, are you alright? Naomi responded, why yeah. The rest of the 501st soon joined the group including Drebin, who spoke, need a lift, get in already. Snake and Naomi nodded as they went inside the tanker, as the Death Maiden turned around and spoke respectfully to her general. I believe the mission went successful, right? The Death Maiden spoke, as Issei responded, indeed it did, good job Akeno. The now identified Akeno released her armor as she was a beautiful young woman with a voluptuous figure, very long black hair and violet eyes. Her hair is usually tied in a very long ponytail, reaching all the way down to the floor with 2 strands sticking out from the top and sloping backward, with an orange ribbon keeping it in place. This was Akeno, a Death Maiden that was with Malthal and a part of his army of Reapers. She is a top captain in the Reaper army and a member of the 501st Legion. I am glad to perform as you ask me to do, so what now? Issei spoke his plan to everyone else. I and Snake have defeated Laughing Octopus and we have to head to where Liquid Ocelot's location is. I see, and where he is? Akeno asked, to which Issei spoke, from out intel, our next location will be towards Europe, that is where we have to go next. We must stop Liquid from hijacking the SOPs. Everyone nodded in agreement as he gave the signal to Drebin, who was ready to start the tanker, with several more UAVs of Arcadia joining in. Everyone went inside them as they all headed to their next stop, which was to head towards the base, where they can head back to the next location. Scene change. Time skip brought to you by Chibi Issei playing some Metal Gear Revergence. 4 days later, Eastern Europe, Earth 8, 11:30 p.m. Issei and Melino were on a motorcycle in an alleyway as they were accompanied by Big Mama, Snake, and the rest of the 501st as they constantly tried to escape from the Raging Raven. Earlier some events had happened, they all were able to find the precise location of Liquid Ocelot, which was in Eastern Europe. They had to get Big Boss's corpse away from them so that they cannot use it to hack the SOP system. They had caught up and met up with Big Mama, and she also revealed Big Boss's body, which was being kept alive, but unconscious, by nanomachines. However, in reality, this was really Solidus's body, as Big Mama had acquired it to stand in as a ruse while she was repairing the damage done to Big Boss's real body, with parts from Liquid and Solidus, as well as waiting for the AI system to be brought down, so Big Boss could be revived from his nanomachine-induced coma. Soon after, it was discovered that a trio of Dwarf Gecko had followed Snake to the hideout and PMCs were closing in on them. As Eva, members of the Resistance, and Snake moved out, decoy vans were set to allow the van with the corpse of Big Boss to get away. Riding with Eva on her motorcycle, Snake and the 501st protected her and the van from PMCs in a frantic chase through the city. Issei, to your left. Melino was driving the motorcycle. Issei noticed some of the frogs that were trying to ambush the two as he fired his rocket launcher, killing them. They kept driving, as there were 3 motorcycles, one with Eva and Snake, the second with Issei and Melino, and the third with Invictus and Macaria. The others were in Arcadian UAVs, as they all were firing at the black arms and the frogs that were chasing them. These frogs are really annoying at this point. Melino responded in agreement, yep, you got that one right. They had to deal with a bunch of geckos earlier, taking several of them down without a problem, as their goal was to protect Big Boss's body. Melino and Macaria sensed a roadblock ahead and nodded. Issei, we will be taking a diversion. There is a blockade set up by these black arms, we will be taking a diversion. Macaria added in response, both of you, destroy the blockade, leave the driving to us. The both responded in unison as they started to fire on the frogs that were hanging on the buildings, trying to fire at them. They subdue and eliminate those frogs as they soon head towards the location where the blockade is. Enemy soldiers, Black Arms officer shouted as the troops fired, but Issei responded by firing his M4 at them. Melino also joined in by firing her own assault rifle at them, killing several of them with ease. Invictus and Macaria also joined in, with Invictus using his sniper rifle to take down the soldiers as they took down more of them. Macaria, like her sister, Melino, used an assault rifle to constantly keep firing at them. The van and the UAVs burst through the area. Melino then mused, let's go. Right, Issei looked at Invictus, who nodded. The 2 daughters of Hades started their bikes and headed towards the locations. They kept maneuvering, taking down even more troops as they progressed. Rias and her shadow company were also handling more of the black arms that were heading their way. Your left, Ingvild. Ingvild understood this and fired her sniper at 2 of the soldiers, soon dying as she reloaded her sniper rifle. Kaneko added more to the pressure by firing more shots towards them, killing them as they pass. The others were also firing at the soldiers that were their enemies. Unfortunately, a Kong sound was heard as Rias muttered, "You've got to be kidding me." Ria's words made everyone wide-eyed as Ingvild shouted, "It's Raging Raven." The others got alert as they heard her flying across as she shouted, "Rage, rage, show me your rage." Snake Raging Raven kept firing her Milker MGL 140 grenade launcher onto the group as they narrowly were escaping the blasts. Issei noticed several of her slider drones gathering intelligence, giving Raging Raven their precise location. "Everyone, turn your attention to the drones, I repeat, turn your attention to the drones." The others nodded as they started to fire at some of the drones, destroying it as Raging Raven started to fire more of her grenades. Melino and the other drivers were maneuvering around the alleyway. The grenades were damaging even the surrounding locations as well. Issei defended Melano from being attacked, and so did Invictus. The dup were struggling to even keep up with the raging raven. She eventually fired a shot towards them, and one of them hit the van which had Big Boss's body. As there was a massive explosion which primarily took down the 3 motorcycles. The van toppled as Issei, Melano, Macari and Invictus fell to the ground, as Melano toppled to the ground and crashed towards a nearby wall. Big Mama Eva was critically injured, as Snake and Issei rushed towards them. "Are you okay?" Melano's body was starting to heal as she spoke. "Why yeah, I am fine." Issei looked towards Snake as he spoke. "Wait for us, we are ending this fight." The 2 sisters nodded as he contacted Rias to handle any of the outer heaven and black arms that she would be dealing with. She agreed to do so as Snake and Issei went inside, Invictus stayed guard protecting the girls. Raging Raven was making noises akin to a raven. The 2 stealthily moved inside as they reloaded their gun. Snake suddenly fell down as Issei brought out the syringe and injected him with it. He then asked, "You okay?" Snake nodded as he got up and the 2 continued to move inside. Issei and Snake were looking for Raging Raven as she burst through the windows while screeching. She twirled her head akin to a crow. "Give in to your anger, Snake, General, let it boil to the surface, let your fury fall freely, anger begets anger, show me your rage." Raven flew backwards and fired 2 of her missiles towards them as they barely evaded them. She soon flew above and shouted, "Rage, rage, ready yourselves, here I come." Raging Raven shouted as Issei and Snake hid behind the pillars. How Raging Raven flew around as she started to fire her missile launchers at them. Issei and Snake acted quickly, dodging and firing their weapons at her, causing her to grunt in anger. She soon flew above as Issei sensed her and shouted, "She is coming from above." Issei spoke as the 2 rushed to safety, tried to escape from her as Raging Raven spoke, "Show yourselves." Raging Raven was flying inside the building trying to locate them as she soon sensed them and shouted in rage. Issei acted quickly, firing several shots at her as she ended up taking even more damage. He soon went into hiding as he looked at Snake, who nodded as they kept firing onto her and hiding around. Raging Raven then shouted, "Where are you hiding?" "Oh!" Raging Raven roared as she flew around, firing her missile launchers at them as the smokescreen distracted them. Otacon then spoke, "We won't last her for much longer." Issei looked at Snake, who nodded. Issei brought out his boosted gear as he fired 2 dragon shots at her as she shouted in pain, taking severe damage. However, that was nowhere near to defeat her as off yet. Issei could see her armor was damaged, but she was not yet defeated. Raging Raven flew to the rooftops as she maneuvered around outside the building. They kept firing onto Raging Raven as she screamed in pain. She kept shouting, "Show yourselves." As well as cawing like a raven. "How much more energy you have in that?" Issei spoke with a sigh, "Enough for me to handle her, but with low magic regeneration, I am going to need to save it." Very well." Snake responded. He was informed about magic. She soon fired onto them as they avoided the attacks. Issei waited for her to come closer as he soon fired a point-blank RPG shot at her, causing her to screech in pain. She soon flew outside, gaining a short distance. She kept firing her missiles onto them, kill them. She fired more of her missiles at them as they went into hiding. "Damn it, I am overheating." Issei planted some explosives, some C4s nearby as he looked at Snake. He then taunted Raging Raven, who rushed towards her. She took severe damage from the C4s as they exploded, destroying several chunks of the building. She soon flew above trying to smash them with her overwhelming strength, but the 2 kept rolling to dodge the attacks. Issei soon fired his 3rd dragon shot as she shouted, her eye. The call was akin to a raven's call. The 2 were on guard. Her suit was having electric volt surging through it due to the damage it had taken. She was flying downwards as Issei and Snake walked forward. She then spoke, "You bastards. I will never forgive you, never." Raging Raven cawed like a raven as she flapped her wings and continued, "I can feel the anger building up inside. Eating away at me." She cawed in pain as flurry of feathers were seen being released from her body. She kept screaming as she spoke, No, I will never forgive myself. I don't want to be angry. I don't need angry. I am not angry." Her suit then falls off with a flurry of feathers, including her mask. More feathers are released as she shouts, "I am scared." The woman soon falls down as she screams in pain. She was in a crawling position. She soon looks toward Snake. The woman was Raging Beauty. She was an Asian woman with dark skin and black hair. She soon has a fear episode as she screams and begs for mercy. "Help me, the birds are pecking at my feet, they are pecking at my flesh and my soul, please make them stop. I don't need more hate, I had enough, help." The woman falls to the ground in grief. The 2 walk towards her. She soon gets up, crawling towards them and starts standing up, similar to Laughing Octopus. "Let me out of this cage. I don't need these wings. I don't need this rage." She soon motions herself towards the sky and raises her hands. She soon laughs as she turns around and speaks to them. "Come. Let your anger flow." The 2 once again back away, knowing her to be similar like Laughing Octopus. The 2 start rushing away as voices of rage and cries are heard throughout, similar to when voices of laughter were heard when they were fighting against Laughing Octopus. The two kept firing onto her as she started to avoid some of the hits. Otacon then warned them, "Snake General, she shed her suit, she is going to grab you." They backed away while continuing their fire onto them. They had to put her out of her misery, there was no other option. Eventually, once she took enough hit, she screamed in pain. She soon fell to the ground while raising her hands in the air. Steam soon was released from her body as she soon curled her body as feathers near her. Issei then spoke sadly. "Seems like she finally gotten her piece, Issei," and Snake could only helplessly look as Issei clenched his fists at the torture she and the other BB Corps went through. "Partner, Jean is making her call." Snake nodded as Issei took the call, with Snake having his own call. "Patch it through." Issei mused as Jean spoke. "Seems like you managed to take down another BB Corps, good job." Jean spoke with a tone of gratitude, however there was also sadness inside of her voice. She knew that like Laughing Octopus, she must have also gone through a lot. Yeah, these kids, none of them deserved this. Her paranoid episode must be telling me she had an experience with ravens. Jean nodded in agreement as she added, "I believe so, Issei. I believe so. What is worse is that, like Laughing Octopus, there must have been no hope till she succumbed to madness." Jean responded as she continued, "That is how war works, and I think the best thing to do is to put all of them out of their misery." Issei nodded in agreement as Jean spoke. "Well, I saw everything, and with 2 of the BB Corps fallen down, we have to only deal with 2 more of them." "How is locating Vlad going?" Jean asked as Issei responded. "We have located him heading towards America. I think that is where our final fight against the Outer Heaven will also happen." Jean thought for a moment and spoke. "Very well, keep me updated of the situation." Issei nodded in agreement as he cuts the call. He soon turns towards Snake and speaks, "Dreban told me about her. Raging Raven was born in Aceh, a territory of Indonesia, a place that had already seen years of war prior to her birth. She was captured by soldiers as a young child and was kept in a cage along with many other captured children. The soldiers, mad with the rage of war that they had experienced over the years, would beat the children daily, Raven included. The captive children tried to hold on to hope and attempted to cheer each other up by reassuring one another that help would eventually come, all the while barely clinging to life by eating what little scraps of food there were, but this only angered the soldiers, calling them parasites and shit-eating ravens and beating them harder. Eventually, the soldiers suddenly left, leaving the surviving, weak and helpless children to get eaten alive by the birds that inhabited the countryside. The ravens picked apart the children one at a time, but when they came for her, instead they somehow managed to cut her bonds, and she was freed. In that moment, she was filled with an uncontrollable rage that smothered her soul. She tore apart the ravens and then pursued the soldiers. When she caught up with them, she waited until nightfall and killed all the soldiers and civilians that they had captured, all the while screaming and cawing. To her, there was no difference. Issei nodded as he looked at her corpse. She seemed to be resting, finally at peace from her torment. I see Snake kept his hand on the kid. Issei felt sad for the 4 BB Corps members, their only option is to put them out of their misery. Snake then spoke. We need to head out to protect Big Boss's body. Issei nodded as the two headed out. Scene change. Dark family mansion, Arcadia, 12 a.m. Juniper was in her pajamas standing across the rooftop. She had finished the last of her work, which was to maintain some of the alliance. She remembered John heading to one of the Earths to handle the Atlas Corporation. It just doesn't feel the same. Juniper spoke with a sigh as she soon spoke. Where are you, Ice? Juniper soon realized it and slapped her cheeks multiple times, snapping out of it. She herself couldn't understand what was happening. She looked down, trying to shake her head of those thoughts as she spoke. How can I think of him like that? Am I missing him? Juniper spoke while she soon remembered some more memories of how Issei was happy with Nyx or Mocha. She started to get a longing feeling looking at them this happy. She would deny it, but she was starting to get an unknown feeling. Am I falling for him? Juniper shook her head again as she spoke. No, I must not. I should not fall for him. Juniper looked down. She couldn't get Issei out of her head. She was unaware, but she was starting to miss him. She then spoke. Why am I falling for him? He doesn't deserve someone like me. Juniper muttered to herself. She soon went inside the bathroom and cleaned her face. She wiped her face with a hand towel and sat on the bed. Just why can't I get his image out of my head? Juniper spoke while trying to deny herself. She did not want to fall for anyone yet. Especially not with someone like Issei. It is not because she hated him, but because she did not want to harm him emotionally. In her eyes, Issei was already so badly affected by constant betrayals that he just couldn't romantically love anyone. Her being involved in his love life is something she doesn't want, since Issei probably wouldn't even see her as a lover at all. Even if I did love him, he would never love me. Juniper spoke with a sad smile. After all, I am just an old single lady with children. Scene change. Time skip brought to you by Enchibi. Issei playing with his inventions. 1 week later, US Missouri, Earth 8, 9:30 a.m. Issei and his squad comprising of Nyx, Melano, Macaria, Invictus and Elias were walking towards Vlad's base with a small platoon. They had finally located Vlad and were ready to take him down once and for all. They could care less if he does get killed, they need to deal with him as well. Earlier they had to deal with Crying Wolf and the incident at Shadow Moses, and dealt with Liquid Ocelot there, who had unfortunately survived. They had defeated and killed Crying Wolf, putting her out of her misery, and were able to defeat her. Now they decided to end this. Alright everyone, let's end this. Issei spoke as they all nodded in agreement, however all of a sudden the area around Vlad's base was rumbling as something erupted. It was hexapital, with additional secondary devices mounted at the front, containing retractable blades, and a head with 2 large plasma cannons. The entrance into the machine as well as the cockpit was an egg-shaped elevator platform. From the ground. It was huge and was almost the length of Vlad's entire base. This was Metal Gear Excelsus, it was far stronger than Metal Gear Ray. What the buck is that? Elias responded, as Issei spoke, I am not sure. Jean. Issei contacted Jean, as she looked at the Metal Gear, and spoke, I have never seen this Metal Gear before, be careful, Vlad is not going to go down without a fight. Issei gulped as he disconnected the call. He looked at his team and nodded, everyone, we need to defeat this Metal Gear if we need to defeat Vlad, once and for all. They all nodded, as they readied themselves to fight Metal Gear Excelsus. Chapter 28. Collective Consciousness. US Missouri, Earth 8, 10 a.m. The Metal Gear Excelsus was on the ground, as it soon settled down, completely destroying the base. The dome shaped at the top of the Metal Gear soon opened up, revealing a man that walked outside. This was Vlad Ark, who turned to see Issei and his team, as he looks down upon them with a smile. Well, if it isn't saucy Issei and his team. Vlad looks at the clock and speaks, just a little too late, as usual. Vlad, impressive little gear you got there, but your madness ends now. Vlad only cackled in response as he spoke, oh my dear general, this is just the beginning, did you check on your team lately? Issei pondered, as Nyx widened her eyes and spoke, no. Nyx, what happened? Nyx turned to Issei and spoke, they have been ambushed by Screaming Mantis, Snake, and the others are trying to struggle against them, but her mind control is really strong. They are trying to fight it, but we can only hope that they can win. Nyx's words made Issei horrified as he glared at Issei and spoke, so you know, huh? With the control of the SOP and Ocelot gaining more and more power, soon the entire Patriots AI will fall into our hands. They will never reach the system in order to stop it from gaining control. Once it is done, we will launch a full-scale invasion, plunging the entire of the Earth 8 into chaos, just like how Ocelot says, like the good old Wild West. Issei clenched his fist and growled as Melino responded. But we were able to eliminate Crying Wolf and Vamp. Vlad only laughed as he spoke, oh, but you are forgetting, we got what we wanted, we got the railgun, and soon Liquid will destroy the JD, and soon replace it with his own GW. This will end with the US's defeat, and soon after that Arcadia will fall under our control. They were only pawns that served their purpose, Melino growled in response, as she glared at Vlad. She was with Snake during his fight against Crying Wolf, and defeated her alongside her team. Besides, I have this Metal Gear Excelsus, meant specifically to deal with the original 15, but I don't mind testing it on you, anyways. Vlad soon went inside, but not before taunting them, say your prayers, 500 first, tonight is your final day. Vlad went inside and activated the Metal Gear as it became operational. Issei and his team got ready to fight the behemoth as they had to stop it at all costs. Behold, the power of the Black Arms. Vlad commands the Excelsus and starts to crush the 501st Issei's team as they dodge the attacks. Vlad does not stop as he uses the giant arms on the Excelsus to crush Issei, who dodges it by rolling as Drake spoke, now, partner. Issei kept slashing the Metal Gear as he was starting to take some damage, as Drake exclaimed, yes, slice it open. Issei flew back as Nyx created a night flow, covering the complete area with darkness. Vlad was failing to see what was going on. Vlad then spoke with a taunting tone, you're getting cocky, kid. He is really getting on my nerves. Nyx retorted in an annoyed tone, creating 2 small sabers of darkness as she leaped into the air and started slashing one of the joints that were comprising of the Excelsus. This continued for a while as Elias responded, Nyx, move. Elias's words were nodded by Nyx as she moves aside, he aims his Barrett M82. Elias fired the short to Excelsus, destroying the joint with ease, since this was destroyed with ease. The Metal Gear Excelsus staggered behind as Vlad was starting to lose a little bit of control. Melino and Macaria kept firing their assault rifles Alaska 47 and M4A1 towards the Metal Gear, causing it to black it with ease. Let's see how you handle this, Vlad cackled as he fired the plasma cannon onto the 2 girls. They rolled to dodge the attack as they kept on firing at them. Soon enough Vlad commands the plasma cannons to perform a sliding attack towards the 2 girls as it tackled them to the ground. Issei and Nyx act quickly as they dash towards them, rescuing the daughters of Hades with ease. You two okay? Melino nodded as they looked at the Excelsus as Melino spoke, who knew the humans on this earth would be capable of making technology like this. "You are right on that one, sister," Macaria responded as Nyx continued to fire constant barrages of darkness at the Excelsus. As it tried to block all of them, it responded by firing missiles at them. "So what's the plan, General?" Issei thought for a moment and looked at his arms as he spoke. "The trick I learned it is a risk, but if I can get one of the arms, maybe I can use it against the gear itself." Melino looked at him for a moment and responded, "Sure, that works for me." "Yep, me too." Issei gave a look at Invictus and Elias, who nodded. He gave a glance to Macaria as he nodded. She soon aimed her M4A1 towards Excelsus, as Vlad demands. "I demand the 500 first blood." The Metal Gear fired a barrage of missiles towards them as Issei activated a magic shield to defend his team from them. He soon noticed Vlad being relentless as he activated a sweeping strike towards them as they dodged the attack. They knew what they had to do. Issei leaped into the air and started rapidly slashing into one of the arms of the Excelsus as it was getting destroyed, causing Vlad to stagger due to the damage as he growled in response. "You got lucky." Elias was not letting go of it as he kept firing more of Barrett M82 as he kept firing onto the Metal Gear Excelsus, causing it to almost topple before Vlad regained control of the device as he fired multiple more missiles at them, causing them to dodge. He soon followed it up with a plasma cannon towards them as Issei responds with firing a dragon shot towards the plasma laser blast, which was able to parry the attack. Vlad was getting angry. He presumed the Metal Gear Excelsus would make him invincible due to Carmilla, making it resistant to even magic itself. However, he lost 3 of his arms. In his anger, he decided to stomp Issei, but Issei sidestepped it as he grabbed the retracted blade. He looked at Nyx and Invictus, who nodded as they joined in slashing off the joint towards the retractable blade as he slashed off the arm. What? Vlad shouted in shock as Issei grabbed the blade as he looked at the blade. "So, this is the blade, kind of huge." Issei twirled the blade as he looked at the blade and he was constantly slashing the Metal Gear's body with the same blade as his allies kept firing on the Metal Gear, causing it to struggle. Metal Gear Excelsus may be strong and bulky, but it is a bit slow as it can't keep up with a huge barrage of attacks. Despite this, Vlad was not giving up without a fight as he used 2 missiles towards Issei as he waited for it to get close. He soon sliced the missiles in half as he had a grin on his hands. The missiles fell down, exploding completely, much to Vlad's shock. He soon noticed Invictus jump on the Metal Gear as he started to rush towards the cockpit while dodging the attacks near him. Issei soon joined Invictus as the 2 men started to rush towards the cockpit as they dodged the attacks with ease. They were running on the blade's arms as Issei held one of the Metal Gear's arms. However, Vlad decided to take a risk and fire the plasma cannon towards the 2, forcing them to jump off the location. They were back with the rest of the group as they were surprised by how resilient Vlad was and how aggressive he can get. He was willing to sacrifice his own arm just to make sure he can continue fighting. Scene change. Outer Heaven, Missouri, Earth 8, 11:30 a.m. Snake was looking at Screaming Mantis, with Rias beside him. The others were already down due to Screaming Mantis's mind control. Snake soon destroyed the suit as she screamed in pain, holding a doll which belonged to her hands. Her suit flew away, almost in a storm of winds that seemed akin to a mantis hunting down its prey. Soon enough the suit fell off in different directions. This was such that Rias and Snake had to dodge some of the attacks present. Soon enough, a woman showed up. She was described to be a South American dark-skinned woman with black hair. Soon enough, the woman known as Screaming Mantis, or now Screaming Beauty, the woman fell on all fours, crawling as she soon tumbled down into the ground. She soon got up and jumped into the air, akin to a mantis, only to tumble down. Is that how the general felt when he confronted them? Rias muttered with horror. She remembered him killing 3 of the beauties, the last one being in the Shadow Moses Island near Alaska. She started to laugh as screams were heard in her head. "I hear them in my head," the beauty continued as she spoke while motioning in a mantis-like attack pattern. "The screams. Make them stop." The Screaming Beauty held her head in pain. She begged as she fell down, crawling in fear as she spoke. "I am scared, I am so scared." She sensed blades twirling all around her as she crawled even further inside, holding her head in pain. This was due to the trauma, as like all the members of the BB Corps, she was also not exempted from the physiological trauma she endured. "I am sorry, have mercy." The Screaming Beauty waved her hands in a protective motion as she soon got up and acted as if she was banging on the door. "Let me out of here," the Screaming Beauty cries as she soon falls down. She then speaks, "I can't breathe." She soon slumps to the ground as Rias speaks, "Is it over?" Rias looked over her squad. They were all knocked out or dazed from her attack. Snake then responded, "Not yet. Stay on guard." Rias nodded as she spoke, "Yes sir." She soon got up, much to Rias' shock, as she soon got up and spoke while keeping her fingers on her chin and spoke, "And now? Get out of my body." The Screaming Beauty soon walked towards them and spoke, "Forgive me." The 2 nervously backed away as they prepared for their fight against the Screaming Beauty. She soon shouted, "Set me free." Only she was left amongst a BB core, and after that they had to shut down the GW that Liquid Ocelot was planning. Rias could only hope that Issei and his squad defeat Vlad. They soon started to fire onto the screaming beauty as screams were heard throughout the room, screams of women, man and children. Snake started to fire syringes onto her as she took several hits. Once Rias fired the final shot onto her, she started to scream in the loudest voice as Kaneko, who was dazed, had to cover her ear. She soon fell backwards as her corpse landed on the ground, dead. She, like the other members, curled up in a fetal position, dead. Scene change. US Missouri, Earth 8, 2 p.m. The metal Gear Excelsus was rampaging across the area as it roared into the battlefield. As Issei pondered on whether he could salvage it for his own states, he wondered if it would benefit Arcadia or find a way to do so. Issei dashed towards the metal gear and stabbed the second arm as Vlad started to struggle with only one arm. The group looked at each other as they started to fire their weapons at Vlad and primarily aim for the final leg joint of the metal gear. Now, all in. Issei commanded as he started to dash towards the metal Gear Excelsus, which decided to throw some missiles onto Issei as he leaped into the air and sliced them in half. He soon noticed it firing a huge beam at Issei as he used his draconic wings to leap further into the air. Vlad was getting angry, and in his anger, he failed to notice that the last leg of the Excelsus was falling apart as well. He soon started to tumble as the last leg of the Excelsus was destroyed. Vlad fell down, staggering inside of it. Now Issei Invictus shouted as Issei soon dashed forward and stabbed him in the core, almost missing Vlad by an inch. The metal gear soon starts to have an electrical surge as Drake shouts. Issei, get out of there, the metal gear is going to explode. Issei jumped down as he saw the metal gear start to explode in a barrage of explosions. No, this can't be happening. The explosions of the metal gear consumed Vlad as Issei and the others had looked in surprise. Melano asked, is he dead? Issei responded, I hope. That explosion should have killed him. Once the dust settled down moments later, the cockpit opened up as Macaria exclaimed, are you kidding me? He is still alive. After all that, Macaria's words were agreed with everyone. However, Vlad's condition was bad, his hair was destroyed, he was bleeding all across the body, and he had lost one of his arms and his eye, his clothing was tattered. On the bright side, his condition is bad, Invictus responded as he looked towards the 501st with anger and hatred in his eyes. Wow, well Vlad, you seem to be in a terrible condition. Say, do you need a hand? Issei asked with a mocking tone as he was seething in rage. He then shouted in anger. This is not over. Vlad brought out a grenade as they all were shocked. Issei then spoke, Nyx, stop him. Nyx nodded as she used her darkness tendrils to stop him, but it was too late. He threw the grenade at them as she grabbed the grenade and tried to grab Vlad, who escaped with an emergency magic circle. Issei tried to reach out to him and eliminate him, but it was too late. He was long gone as Issei growled in response. Fucking coward. Issei was soon joined by the rest of his team as Melano spoke, so what now? Well, all we need to know is what is going on the other side. Issei contacted Rias as he asked, so what is going on? Well General, we managed to stop the GW from spreading, which included the worm that Dr. Naomi had planted was reprogrammed, modified to destroy the brain, but leave the brain stem intact. Rather than destroying the Patriot system entirely and plunging the world into chaos, the worm was programmed by Odekin's daughter Sunny to remove their control while preserving the energy and resource networks essential to modern society, allowing the US to truly live free for the first time in many years. Many sighed in relief. The war against the outer heaven was done for, now only the leaders remain, as Issei asked. What about Liquid Ocelot and Screaming Mantis? Rias confirmed in response, they are dead General. I and Snake dealt with Mantis, while Snake finally put down Liquid Ocelot for good. It's finally over, General. Issei and the others sat down on the now destroyed Excelsus, finally relieved that the war, which lasted for 2 continuous weeks, day and night, was finally over. Good job Major Rias, you and your team did well. Rias nodded in confirmation while having a smile, thank you General. Speaking of which, where is Vlad? Issei gave a sigh and spoke, the bastard managed to escape. He tried to kill us using the metal gear that we are sitting on. In his last-ditch effort, he managed to escape. But his condition was critical, you should have seen how he was. I guess. Rias spoke with a chuckle as she responded, I think we should probably meet up at the US base, we can finally return back home. Yeah, head towards the Arcadian destroyer, there is still something I have left to do, shouldn't take long though. Issei spoke as Rias responded. Understood. Rias cuts off the call as Issei lies on the metal Gear Excelsus as Nyx and his team sit beside him. She then speaks. So the war is finally over, eh? Issei nodded as he spoke, yep, you got that one right. We can finally go home, and Melano, Macaria, the 2 sisters looked at Issei and spoke, yes. Good job, you did amazing for your military war. The sisters chuckled as Melano responded. Thanks Ice, we do have eons of experience in this, so we would be aware about what was happening. Macaria then responded, Melano is right, and it was nice to actually fight in war. Now I can see why Athena and Ares used to like doing so. It does push you to your limits and test everything you have in your skill. But I doubt they have fought in a war like this. Heh, you are right on that one, Nyx responded as Invictus and Elias were confused on this, as Invictus asked. Who is this Ares, and Athena? Nyx responded to her friend, Athena is a goddess, and Ares is a god, they both are from our world. Speaking of our world, I wonder what is even going on there, almost 3 years have passed, and I wonder what is happening there. Melano responded in kind, who cares about them, anyway. I guess, I was more curious, but either way, it doesn't matter. Issei spoke as they laid like this for a short while. After that Issei had spoken. Eyes, you might want to get down now. Issei spoke, as Macaria asked with a deadpan tone, you are planning to salvage Excelsus, aren't you? Yep, and how did you know? Macaria sighed and spoke, I would know, you always loved anything related to technology and magic. Yeah, you would stay up for days, weeks just researching stuff. Melano nodded in agreement, as Nyx added, on that she is right, what are you planning to do with Excelsus anyways? Maybe see if we can bring it to our side. Having a weapon like this to our side would be beneficial, I mean, it's up for the taking anyway. Since no black arms would bother to come after this anyway. Issei responded as the 3 girls and Invictus sighed, while Elias watched the scene while shaking his head. He knew his general always loved technical stuff. Scene change. Yes base, Earth 8, 9:30 am. Issei and the 501st Legion, alongside Rias and her team. They were standing opposite to Ottokin, Rat Patrol Team 01 and Solid Snake. They were close to their ship, as Solid Snake responded, well kid, this is where we part ways. Yeah, with Outer Heaven dead, and Vlad and the Black Arms out there, our war is still going on, but yours, I believe it is done and you can finally rest in peace. Snake nodded as Meryl spoke. It was nice working with you and your team, General. Meryl spoke as she gives her hand as Issei shakes it, and he responds, you too, Commander. Your team as well. The 3 members nodded in agreement. And Snake, take care of yourself and you will be living the rest of your days in peace, right? Snake nodded as he spoke, indeed I will kid, and it was nice fighting alongside a soldier like you. Keep doing well, you and the rest of the 501st. We will, Snake. We will. Issei shook hands with Snake as they all headed inside the Star Destroyer. They all looked to see it move up in the air as they knew that they could rest. Meryl was seen holding Johnny's hand, which no one noticed. Back at the Star Destroyer, Issei sighed and looked at his team and spoke, well everyone, good job in taking down the Outer Heaven, Liquid Ocelot, as well as the BB Corps are gone for good, and it couldn't have happened with all of you working together achieved this together. And we wouldn't have done it without you. Rias shook her head and spoke, it was possible with your leadership. Had you not lead us, I am pretty sure we would have a much harder time in the war, but we managed to drive away the Black Arms present, taking a majority of their numbers, as well as put Vlad in a state. I would be surprised if he survived from his injuries. Nyx nodded in agreement as she spoke. You got that one right, it was a miracle that he was capable of even moving at this point. The others that were there in the Excelsus fight nodded in agreement as Issei spoke, anyways, let's all head back. We are anyway done, pilot take us back to Arcadia, I am getting kind of homesick. As you wish, General. The Arcadian pilot responded as the group all settled down, having conversations with one another. Issei looked at the Excelsus that was in his pocket dimension, wondering on how he can fix it and use it to his and Arcadia's advantage. Scene change. In the DXD world. Hyoudou Mansion, 9:30 am. All 3 years have passed in Arcadia, only 3 months have passed here. The faction leaders have been finding leads towards the locations of Issei and the others, but nothing could be found. Dai is seen talking to Serziches and Azazel about Issei's location. So any location of my brother? Dai asked with hope. But in reality it was nothing but a false front. Serziches responded, no, nothing, there was nothing we could locate of him. Dai nodded sadly, however internally he was furious knowing once again Issei was not located, as Azazel suddenly got a call. It was from Michael. Yes. Wait, you found a trace. Oh good, I will relay the information. Azazel spoke, as Mickey, who was Issei's mother, asked, so you have found him? Azazel nodded as he spoke, not exactly where he is, but in the direction where he has gone. Michael has been using the sacred gear system to identify where his location is, but we could find the direction he is in. I see, well at least we will find my nephew of mine. The one who spoke was Izumo Hyoudou, Issei's, Dai's and Aika's uncle, as well as Goru's younger brother. He was described to be a white-haired man with green eyes. He wore a 3-piece suit which comprised of a white blazer, a brown 3-piece suit. He wore a white formal shirt and white pants. In terms of personality, he was similar to Goru and looked down on his own nephew. He was disappointed in Issei's actions. He could care less whether he is dead or not. He was only here because Dai wanted to know about Issei. He was a real gem and the true heir of the Hyoudou clan. It's not that, brother. Issei has gone too far this time. Not only does he shame the clan, but also he does not care about anyone. He will be punished certainly. Izumo then spoke, I hope he is kicked out for good. Even if that doesn't happen, nothing is going to change, he will just be kicked out of our home. Mickey muttered to Izumo, who nodded as Dai spoke. I see. Let me know if you get more information. Dai spoke as the two men nodded. Izumo then asked, say Dai, why do you care so much about that disgrace? Izumo asked, to which Dai spoke, cause he is my older brother and I will locate him at all costs, bring him back home. Izumo spoke in response, unaware that Dai doesn't care about him and only wants to use him for his own purposes. I see. Izumo spoke as Surziches continued, that is one thing, but how are we going to deal with RageRevan? Earlier he had attacked Roswis and extracted all the information needed to revive Trahixa. Dai had sealed the beast, so how are we going to stop him now? I was left speechless. He could only curse Issei for not being there for the moment. He did not know where he is and what he is doing. Crom was laughing at his misery the entire time as Dai spoke. We need to find a way. Roswis may have a way herself. Has she woken up from her comatose state yet? Surziches shook his head and spoke, not yet, she is showing no signs, but we are working hard to wake her up one day. That cursed RageRevan, he will pay for this. Yeah, the situation seemed to look bleak. Dai clenched his fists in anger to the point of bleeding. He really hated Issei for putting him in this situation. He vowed to make him regret ever running away. He would destroy every last hope in his mind and body and make sure he pays with everything. Scene change. In Remnant. Jean's office, Arcadian Military HQ, 4:30 p.m. Jean was seeing all the personnel of the 501st Legion. She was happy with what had happened. Although she was annoyed that Vlad escaped, the number of the Black Arm's soldiers that they killed along with Fall of Outer Heaven was more than enough. One of Black Arm's major allies had fallen, and that alone gave them a massive advantage. Although Vlad has escaped, I want you all to know, you did well out there in the battlefield, especially Issei and Rias, whose leadership took down 3 of the 4 BB Corps, took down Vlad's metal Gear Excelsus, and even defeated Vlad himself, leaving him with a state that is going to haunt him for a while. We have some time to relax since the Black Arms will be recovering from this, and it is all thanks to you. However, some of you performed exceptionally well, and that is the new recruits that is comprised of Nyx, Invictus, Melano and Macaria. Jean spoke with a smile, as the 4 nodded. For your efforts in the war, you all will be promoted to a new rank. Please, all 4 of you step forward. The 4 did so, as Jean removes the specialist badge for Melano and Macaria, and sergeant badge for Nyx and Invictus, since they did perform well. Nyx and Invictus will be promoted to sergeant, while Melano and Macaris will be promoted to specialist for their efforts in the Outer Heaven battle on Earth 8, while Nyx and Invictus will also be promoted due to the Raccoon City being taken into consideration. Jean then put the badges on all 4 of them as she speaks, congratulations, all 4 of you. Thank you, Supreme General. Nyx spoke for everyone as they all saluted. Jean gave a smile, as soon enough. She spoke, if you all don't mind, would you all head outside? I wish to talk to the general in private. They all nodded as they all left the room. Issei then asked, so Jean, what did you want to talk about? Jean nodded as she spoke, so I believe you have Metal Gear Excelsus with you, don't you? I do, why do you ask? Jean shook her head and spoke, I am not saying you can't keep it with you, but this Metal Gear, how will you plan on using it? I will start by repairing this thing. I believe this Metal Gear was never seen in the history of Arcadia, hasn't it? Not only did it have high magic resistance, but it had the strength to easily crush my troops. With its strength I believe it could be the strongest there is, but I will only use it when needed. Jean nodded as she spoke. You are right on that one. I have never seen a Metal Gear like this before. It was even bigger than Metal Gear Ray that your team had encountered back at the Shadow Moses Island. Carmilla has really outdone herself. Jean spoke with a frustrated tone, as Issei added. You are right on that one. Issei spoke as Jean responded, anyways, I won't keep you for any longer. Oh, your parents are waiting for you. Issei nodded as he spoke, thank you Jean. Issei soon walked out of his room, where he could see Persephone congratulating the promotees on their promotion. She soon noticed Issei as she hugged towards him and gave him a hug, as she exclaimed, Ice-chan. Issei returned the hug of his adoptive mother, as he spoke, hey mom, I am back. Hades soon joined in and spoke, seems like you did quite well, Issei thank you for protecting my girls. They are my sisters too, I won't let any man fall behind, and I'd be damned if anything would happen to us, Dad. Hades nodded as Persephone released him and spoke, we should all celebrate this, all of us together. Yep, you got that one right. Hades mused as they all decided to celebrate out, since one of their biggest enemies has fallen. From a distance, Juniper watched him go with his family. He has a look of happiness in it, it was true and more happier. Issei took a glance and gave a small smile to her, as he assured her that they will talk later on. She nodded in agreement as she watched him go with his family, he happily goes with them. Juniper notes that his smile earlier was fake, but now, it was full of joy. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown in left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.